I'm here to stand on my soapbox and proclaim that to the world.
On this show.
This is the hottest show on the planet right now.
What's the debate?
Ain't no debate.
All right. Welcome to the Vulcan Soapbox, where we celebrate the power of diverse ideas, diverse perspectives. That's the drive for the innovation of understanding. We explore the importance of epistemology. This is how we acquire and validate our knowledge. And why critical thinking is very essential of navigating complex issues. We also share practical tips on how to recognize and avoid fallacious reasoning and become more critical and discerning thinking. That's what we do on the show. And I got two of my guys on here who's, a student in this area. It's going to help us, react to some videos. And we got my guy, Victor / Accountable Masculinity. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. What you want to say to our audience before we get into these topics, man?
Man, if you don't fit the behavior, thank your savior.
Okay. Oh my God. Yeah, man. We got, my guy Vulcan. One of the reasons why we do this show, man. We back, man. What's going on? We back. We here.
What's up, my people out there, all the folks out there who believe in being logical and critical, and they believe in being fair and balanced and having some intellectual integrity as we dissect different things that we see. I'm excited. Let's get to it.
All right, the first topic we're going to cover. Let's see what we're going to start with. Once I put this on the screen, just let me know if y'all can see that. How's that looking?
Yeah,
there we go.
Solid. Okay.
All right, man. Just go ahead, mute your background. Let's get right into it, man.
What does the caption say? Is that my wife lost interest after she saw me get beaten in a fight? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I'm not hearing it. Can y'all hear?
Yeah, not yet. Are you sharing a screen or are you sharing a window?
Sharing the screen.
Make sure that select up at the top that says share audio with this screen is selected.
Okay.
Might just need to refresh it.
All right.
It's muted. Oh no. Let me see if I can help over there.
That's strange.
Send me the link in the private chat.
Right.
I'll see if I can pull it up and share my screen from this side. See, this is why it's beneficial to work with people that know the same software. You just never know, man.
In the private chat.
Yeah, over here. Like if you got it on your screen, you just copy and paste the URL.
Yeah.
Oh, hell, I got it. I got it over here. Hang on a second. Yep. Let me see if I can pull this up very quickly.
Yeah, while that's going on.
Hell, it's doing the same thing for me. Maybe it's the website itself.
Oh man.
It's got no audio. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe they removed it. Yeah.
So,
we'll come back.
Have y'all experienced?
Have we experienced something like this?
I know somebody that went through that actually got beat up in front of their lady, man. Let's have y'all seen that or experienced that before?
I've definitely seen it before.
Well, let's I guess before we that part, let's
his audio. We lost your audio. I've seen it happen in social settings, But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say before we get started, let's go ahead and recap. I guess since we can't play the audio for it. So my recollection of it is not gonna be perfect because of course I thought the video was gonna play, but there was a guy
Man, so
So in the video, I don't know if you haven't seen this, Victor. So it was a guy that got in a fight, and
All
his
right,
lady was there. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, what happened was there was a guy was out with his lady, his wife, and there was a guy getting handsy with his wife. So he stepped in, and the guy swung first. The guy was drunk, I guess, and the guy swung first, and he broke his jaw, knocked him out, all that good stuff. And he said that ever since that event, his wife has lost attraction to him. She stays late at work, drops the kids off at the grandparents' house, and when it's time to engage in marital conjugal rights, she makes the comment that she's tired, has a headache, and stuff like that. Ever since he got knocked out and had his jaw wired shut from getting hit. So that's the situation, everybody on the audience right there. You're out with your lady, the guy swings on you first, catches you slipping, you got to go to the hospital, you're knocked out, and now she doesn't find you as attractive.
That brings me to my next question. So why do you think that, let's go with Victor, why do you think that she lost attraction and respect for him?
It's the same way a man would lose attraction for a woman once he finds out something about her that he didn't know. Because like I believe that every man believes that the woman that he chooses has a level of purity and privacy and something that's specific to him, and then the minute that it's no longer private to him and it's exposed to everyone else, then it's no longer an incentive. You know what I'm saying? Like like being in a relationship is supposed to be the place where you're supposed to be able to keep each other's secrets, right? But then when somebody lets your secret out, then that person isn't attractive anymore. You don't trust them, in some kind of way. So in that situation, that women that lose attraction for men and that they get beat up, probably because she feels like he can't protect her anymore. You know what I'm saying? And this whole time, he's probably been selling her a dream, or she's been having this false sense of security based on this guy that she with. But I saw another video that's similar to this. You guys probably saw it too. So from what I can tell, a white guy and his lady come into this store, in this convenience store, from what I can tell. The lady gets really irate with the guy, with another guy that's in the store. The dude that ended up beating up both of them was a black dude, right? And she was running her mouth, and he smacked up both of them. And then he was down on his knees at some point, you know what I'm saying? Telling me, I love you. It was a whole chaos type of situation, right? But the dude, the white dude, called the black dude the N-word and thought that was going to power him up, but he got smacked up real good, And she started the situation. You could tell she was intoxicated. They both were probably intoxicated. But I'm sure that car ride home was real quiet or very awkward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you watch your significant other get smacked up in front of you. Like how's that gonna look? It's kind of bad.
What you think, Vulcan? What's the why do you think she lost attraction and even respect for him?
I think we all have a pretty good understanding of why she lost attraction. Women mate select for things such as protection and safety and security, and all those are overlapping and similar. And whenever they don't feel like they're getting it, basically, if they don't feel like they're getting that, then that's going to make them lose attraction, because that's part of the reason why they're attracted to men in the first place. So that happened. I think I think also part of the reason why she lost attraction is because we have this bravado driven culture, this everybody's the big dog, and if you don't want what they call mess around and find out kind of attitude, and it's just all it does is cause people to have to fake it, and hopefully they make it. that's what's going on. Everybody gets knocked out. Mike Tyson got knocked out. Daniel Cormier got knocked out. People get knocked out.
Yeah, knocked out is one thing, but in the video, I'm sorry for honest, we weren't able to play the video, but his mouth was wired shut, right?
Well, and that's a part of it too. And that's one of the things I never liked about growing up. And you see people talk about fighting. At a certain point in time, when once grown men have a certain level of strength, if they hit you first, they could put you out. It just doesn't really matter at that point about if you're a better fighter than them or not. If they hit you first, your body's a biological organism. It's only can handle but so much impact on that little button, below your lips.
Any man can knock another man out.
That's it.
Like I remember I used to go work out before when I was in the Army. Like before I went and worked out for PT in the morning, I would go to Gold's Gym. I get there like 4 a.m, and it's the same gym crew that's there every morning. The people that's got to go to work in an hour or two trying to get their fitness in and whatever. And there was this one dude. I was on a cardio machine, and this one guy comes in. He's slim. I'd say he probably 5'9", 165, 170 pounds. Lean. And he come in and do some stretching and some lightweight exercises for mobility. And so I heard this one dude was like talking crazy, pretty much saying, that guy's weak. Just talking this rah, rah, rah. And then about 15 minutes after he warmed up, you just hear somebody, wow, just beating a bag to sleep. And he looked over, it's the same guy, 5'9", 170, leg whipping his bag in cargo shorts. And I'm like, I guarantee you're not going to say what you said under your breath to his face. You got to stop assuming that just because your skill got to match your opinion.
Yeah.
You got to be real.
Back to the top. I want to ask one more question about the topic. Now, like I said, we was able to play this. It was a guy that was he got knocked down in front of his lady, mouth was wired shut, and he was asking the host his advice or tips how to rekindle the relationship. Do y'all got any? Let's go with Victor. What can this guy do to get that bond strengthened with his woman, get back to be intimate? What can you do?
No, it's over with. You might well just go and be a passport, bro. No it's over with.
What about you, Vulcan?
It would take some divine intervention. Short of some divine intervention. It's because the thing about how women operate is it's vibes, it's feelings. It's not, so there's no linear, logical type of explanation you can be able to do. There's no counseling you can really do, because even to ask for counseling or do that is like almost an admission of weakness. and from their vantage point. So it's just there's no way to get around that. The only thing you can do is just, I think maybe, there's a certain religious practice, you can appeal to them religiously, but it would take a lot of work, because part of it is demystifying this whole bravado thing to begin with. Truthfully, it doesn't matter whether the guy can fight or not. If somebody hits you first. Yeah. So really the main issue was, you shouldn't let somebody get that close to you if you're not going to swing. Now, this is a really good topic, because I've heard women tell me before that they've lost interest in a man because a man's hitting on them nonstop, especially when I've heard black women when they go out with I've heard black women say why they don't go out with non-black men anymore. And part of it was because they say the black men will keep on hitting on them. And even if the Hispanic or the white guy, the Asian guy is there. And one lady in particular, and I think, you got to hear some of this story, was whenever she said that the black guys kept hitting on her, and it was a shorter Hispanic guy that she worked with. Yeah, and she said that part of the thing was the guy at one point, he goes, "You want me to do something about this?" And she said the fact that he asked that question, he lost all points. Mm-hmm. And my thing with the situation, y'all feel free to jump in, was what do you expect that guy to do? Is he going to go up and, fight a bunch of black guys? Is he going to, or just fight men in general? You're going to fight men in general for what?
You shouldn't even be with no woman that want to put you in a dangerous situation. This is like where I talk about, how dangerous.
That, Victor, I hear you, but I mean, it seems like most women expect this. This is a requirement.
Now, here's the thing. You got disciplined women, and then you got undisciplined women.
Yeah.
Undisciplined women have unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Disciplined women don't put you in messed up situations that escalate the margin of safety for your life.
I got a question for you. If you had to guess,
that question, my God, John, what's up, man?
What up? What up?
What's up to the Vulcan?
What's up?
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Munyo?
Our topic. Go ahead, Vulcan, ask the question.
I was gonna say, to Victor's point, what percentage of women, if you had to guess, would you say are disciplined versus undisciplined?
I'd say I'd lean with the married people first, because men marry behavior. So with that being said, I'd go with at least 25%. At least I'm cool with saying 25% of women are disciplined enough to not put their husbands in disadvantaged positions where their safety gets compromised. Now, you want to think about the other group of women that's out there, like that's got kids everywhere with the wrong men. They already in dangerous situations by themselves in most cases, So
let's update Munoz real quick on the conversation. You want to do that? You want me to do it?
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, so Munoz, we just got done covering it. We couldn't play the video, but there was a man who was out at a party or a bar or whatever it was, a club or something like that with his lady, and his wife, specifically his wife, and some guy got handsy. Some guy got handsy, so he stepped in. They were drinking or whatever the case may be, and the guy punched the husband. And he got knocked out, had to get his jaw wired shut. And after that, his wife lost attraction to him. So now she stays late from work, dropping the kids off at the mom's house. And she's giving excuses for why she doesn't want to be romantic with them and stuff like that. So the question was, what was the question?
How does the first question?
Yeah.
I'll go back to my notes.
And it was a one-hitter quitter or what?
Seemed to be, yeah. Seemed like the way the guy made it seem like he was knocked out.
He was defending her.
Yeah, so the first question is
defending her.
I'm sorry, John.
He was defending her?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
That's a tough one because you're defending your woman. I would think that she'd appreciate that. But at the same time, just in nature, right? It's an alpha thing, right? If you get knocked out, there might be some attraction towards the dude that knocked the husband to do that.
If we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it. Yeah.
And honestly, to be honest with you, if you think about it, I thought I saw this the other day. Tom Brady, right? Who did his model wife cheat with?
The trainer.
Jiu-jitsu trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So don't ever be training with your jiu-jitsu trainer in front of your wife.
Right.
So the question I asked,
you got to pick your battles.
Exactly. But I think it's more to that, and it's a complicated answer to that. But man, I don't know what to tell you. I would have to see the footage. Y'all can't show it. I wouldn't know. But
it was just a story. Like it was no actual footage of the fight. And there's
plenty of videos online of guys getting knocked out by the girl.
Yeah. So while I was asking everybody, John, why do you think you explained that the alpha, that's the question is why did the wife lose attraction or respect for him? And you said,
it's just at the most instinct levels of animalistic instincts. You see you know what I'm saying? Get knocked out. Your husband gets knocked out. It's just what it is. It's unfortunate because he was offending her. So that's I'm still on the guy's side in that situation.
Well, let me ask you this, John. Let me ask you this then. What advice would you give him? Because he wants to continue on the relationship. He wants to rekindle the relationship. She's not showing any interest. What would you tell him?
I wouldn't. If I'm defending
what if she knocks him out?
If I'm defending you and I get knocked out, that means I'm not scared to lose a fist fight. You should be happy about that.
You should be. But see, that's the thing. That word should is very dangerous because everything on the other side of the word should implies perfection. Meaning like when I say something and it should do this and it does the opposite, then it's poor expectation management, right?
Yeah.
So like you have to just go off the fact that you have to read the other person. You have to read the room before you assume that, like what you're about to say is going to be well received, right? And just but the same thing is that same should works the opposite direction for you, you know, just like you were saying, hey, she should appreciate the fact that, you know, he was defending her and got knocked out. But like I just,
well, I mean,
it's
the other
unfortunate.
thing, you know, I have a bum knee, so you know it'd be hard for me. I could probably lose nowadays, but you know what I would do is I would set up a whole stage if that happened, and I'd hire a friend and I could whoop his ass in front of my girl, redeem myself, and get her back. That's the best
Now,
option.
so what do y'all think about that idea?
No, I told you, passport, bro. That's the only thing you got left. You know what I'm saying?
Passport.
Just go ahead and
kids,
go with it. Yeah.
So the kids just lost their 2-parent home. That's the end of that.
So basically, what you're saying, Victor, is American women passport bros, right? That's what you're saying. So American women, is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is you got to do like the promiscuous women do, relocate. Just go get you a whole nother zip code and just you know, like, because like you can be on this side of town,
yeah, and
you can behave how you want to behave, right? And you probably done been with every girl, or you know, depending on if you're a man or a woman, right? But if you move from North Carolina to Missouri, nobody knows who you are. You get to reset your reputation, you know. So you need a reputation reset.
Yeah.
So nobody can walk up to you and be like, "Hey, saw you get knocked out the other day online," or whatever, you know. If you move to the Philippines, nobody know. They don't care.
That's true.
Yeah, man.
So do y'all think that if we did that exercise that Munoz is talking about, could that maybe redeem him or no?
No.
If you did have somebody be a fall guy?
That'll be a movie. You know, like it sounds like a Will Ferrell script.
You pay a crackhead enough money and you get a real knockout. I mean, it might do something. It might get her a little.
What if the guy get mad and start beating you in front of your wife?
At that point, like it's another risk.
At that point, it's on you, man. At that point,
he didn't take the fall.
It's another risk. Like the guy didn't take the fall and decided to stomp you out.
Yeah. If a crackhead, because that's who I would hire. If a crackhead knocks me out, I deserve to lose my woman. Honestly, I'll give you
they're stronger than you think.
Nah, bro. Like, yeah, exactly. They ain't got nothing. You got to fight somebody. You think about trying to redeem yourself, and you fighting somebody that has nothing to lose.
Wow.
Yeah, but they're fragile bronze. I fought crackheads, bro. They're fragile. They're all malnourished, bro.
They're all malnourished. But yeah, going back to the such a scenario, there's no advice you really could give the guy. No. It's unfortunate. He had to decide if it's worth him breaking his family up over the loss of romance and respect and admiration. But maybe some type of intense therapy, but he couldn't be the one to bring it up. Somebody would have to bring it up on his behalf in a way that doesn't link it back to him in her mind. Because you could, talk about, show all the great men who've been knocked out in the past and talk about, how a sucker punch is not really a fair fight. There's got to be some research, there's got to be some examples throughout history, and somebody can walk her through all those kind of things. And it wouldn't be an easy process, but it may be easier than losing your family or staging a mock battle for you to win.
The fact that this conversation even exists means you can't come back from it. You know what I mean? Because you got to make all of these caveats. If divine intervention, stage another fight, maybe he do this and maybe he do that. It's over. It's over. It's done.
Well, okay. What about this? Let's go back to the scenario before he gets hit, because this is part of the thing I've noticed with people, and I really want to hear y'all's thoughts on this.
Okay.
Why can't we just call the cops? You got a guy getting handsy with your girl, and you would think if you had a girl who really had your best interest at heart, she would be willing to just move. It's not because you don't know who that guy's there with. You don't know. There's too many unknown factors to really risk it all in that way. Because if he got knocked out, he could have died. The guy could have not stopped. Could have just kept hitting him. The guy could have just kept hitting him. The people could have started stomping him. So why is it that us men, we never feel like we can just call the cops in that situation? Hey, tell your girl, hey, look, girl, go over there and call the cops.
I think it's getting to that point now. Men are not afraid to call the police anymore.
So hold on. So you're telling me that a girl gets dry if you try to fight, but she's gonna still love you because you called another strong man with a gun to come help you?
Well, y'all won't be there hopefully with the.
I mean, like, in this, all things being taken in good faith, okay, meaning like let's look at it like she's completely innocent, didn't do anything, they were just out having a good time, all things being considered, you know what I'm saying, done in good faith. Because it's easy to speculate something negative, you know what I'm saying, that he did to try to participate in the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
If all things done in good faith and she cared about his safety, calling the police would make sense, you know, in that situation, because she would be like, hey, this could go left really quick. We got kids at home. We need to deal with this in the manner that makes sense. So that's a good the question that you're bringing up, the scenario part of calling the police is absolutely necessary at this point, because here's the other part. Let's say he actually knocked the guy out, right? And he did the right thing and defended, you know what I'm saying, his wife properly or whatever, right? The guy he knocked out, let's just say he died. Let's just say he survived. And at best, he's still gonna get sued. Because like most times the people that's willing to abuse other folks and they're usually the coward that's gonna always take the cheap route anyway, you know. So all things being considered in good faith, I've seen when people have broken into someone's house and then they get injured on the glass that they broke in through, and then end up suing the homeowner. So it's almost a lose-lose situation, you know?
Yeah, you can. I would always think you can always use like and truthfully and be like, hey, look, I'm not about to fight somebody in my Ferragamos, my new Jordans, whatever it is. I'm not about to scuff these things up. Just limited edition. So there's I mean, and that to some extent can overcome your wife or your girl's desire to want to feel protected in that moment. It's like it can't overcome that part, but it can maybe distract her from thinking about it as you're running away, because you're really not running away. There's no good reason to get into that fight, or even, you know, because she risks really almost nothing.
That's the point. Like
the men are taking the big risks,
and that's the point. Because so check this. So let's just say he decides to defend, right? And then it escalates into he gets taken to jail because it's mutual combat. You know, what if the witnesses at the scene lie? What if, you know, there's a bunch of different directions that this thing could go.
Yeah,
because because again, the word should means that everything will be taken in good faith, and what your intent was is seen clearly, and that's not always the case. So just like you look at that Tory Lane situation, right?
Dang, that's
like you know, like you look at that Tory Lane situation. He opted not to speak up on his behalf because he thought he was protecting the women. Now he should have spoke up, but he ended up the one with the sentence, because and even though there's multiple accounts that Meg and Kelsey was fighting each other, and he stopped Meg from being shot by Kelsey, and he didn't speak up on none of that stuff, he still ended up being the one with the time, even though he ain't got no DNA on the weapon, you know. So like in that situation, the cops weren't called. And when he had to deal with the legal situation, he still didn't speak up for himself because he thought he was morally doing the right thing. See, this is where we get into this territory about right versus wrong, legal versus illegal, moral, ethics, all that stuff. See, the law don't care about intent, you know what I'm saying, as much as it cares about what was the outcome, you know. So
it cares about intent with murder, but I know
that's what I'm saying. In this particular situation, we talk about you know, like a regular mutual combat type of situation, right? But if you knock a guy out and he ends up hitting his head in a funny way, and now it's manslaughter, you know what I'm saying? And now you still might run all those things considered, you still might run the risk of losing your family anyway.
So to answer the question, I mean, there's we all have our personal views. Vulcan can vouch for me and my personal views. I fist fighted a guy with a knife, got stabbed 3 times. So obviously now my wife would know I wouldn't want to for that reason. But and as far as go back to that woman's a horrible person. At the end of the day, I'm obviously going to take the guy's side in this situation because it's obvious if he's fighting and he lost. Everyone loses, right? Everyone loses. Just like all great fighters, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not going to say you're wrong in saying that he lost, but I'm not convinced he lost because
He
he
lost
might have
the
got
fight.
he might have got sucker punch. It may not actually technically have been a fight.
Exactly.
It may not have been.
Pretty sure it was a
Well, it
sucker
might-
punch.
But just to say one more thing, is also, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think this is the reason why she left him. You know, like
Yeah,
it
she just
sounds
used
like,
the situation to leave.
yeah, like if this is really true, what he's saying that she left him because of that, then he's probably just a beta altogether, and he just got knocked down. She's like,
That-
all right, I'm done with this pussy.
Thank you for saying that, John, because that's really what it is.
That's what happened. That was a lot. That was a straw.
That's more
broke
likely
the
what
camel's
took
back.
place.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't leave him, y'all. She didn't leave
It was
him.
leading up
They're
to
still
that.
together.
They're still together. Okay, well,
She just don't want to sleep with him anymore.
She used that as a reason, but she used that as a reason
Yeah,
not to.
basically left for it.
go to my thing. Go to bluechew.com / John Munoz 10% discount. They're one of my sponsors.
All right,
I don't use them, but
fellas.
you know what I'm saying.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was trying to fix the technical difficulties. I'm trying to play all these videos, so I got the next topic. We can just go ahead and get to the next
Real quick,
topic.
I missed the rules. What are the rules, bro? Because you said something.
Yeah, for you.
Is there something is anything I'm
definitely
doing
got it.
wrong? I mean, I don't want to get kicked out because you always mute me last time. So
But just watch the language, and yeah, just watch the language. I want to go over all the rules right now.
all right, so I can do drugs in front of the camera.
Say again.
I can do drugs in front of the camera.
Yeah, you can do all the drugs you want to do. No, I'm joking. Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah, Tylenol, whatever you need to do,
That's
Advil.
what I'm saying. Yeah. I got a headache from it sometimes.
Yeah,
all authorized prescriptions.
By the way, Victor, man, where you from?
Originally from Birmingham, Alabama.
That's what we say. No personal questions. So look, guidelines for discussing the topics we prefer to be on camera. But if you're off camera, please put a picture up as a substitute. Listen respectfully.
Oh, I see. I got you. I can read, bro. Thank you, man. Thank you. You know.
All right. So
I was home,
right?
But geez,
right.
bro.
Live on the show, we got this. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
What are the reasons?
All right. So look, man, I wanna get y'all thoughts on this because I had to pull up the YouTube video. Let's just go with this video. I'm gonna get y'all thoughts on this. All right, y'all can see it. There we go.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I had a homegirl, right? She had an encounter with a guy. She was on him. She hella liked him, whatever. She called me the next day. She was like, yeah. I had a homegirl, right? She had an encounter with a guy. She was on him. She hella liked him, whatever. She called me the next day. She was like, yeah, we did whoop whoop. And I was like, cool, right? A year or so passes. She meets a guy that she's really serious with. And then she's like, so I was thinking about that one guy I was with, and I think he wanted me. And I was like, you totally wanted him. You totally called me. You totally told me all the details. Yeah. Like, what do you mean right now? But I think it was like the shame that I think she felt that she allowed herself to go there. And then when she met a serious guy, I think to herself, she was trying to make it seem like he overstepped or whatever. But he was like way tossed and she wasn't way tossed. Like, she was fine. I think about shit like that. And I'm like, God forbid my sons were to have an encounter with a girl. She fully is, fine with things. Mm-hmm. And then years, months later is like, the shame that I feel is uncomfortable. So I'm just going to say that you took advantage of me. Hell no.
All right, fellas.
Happens every day.
All right, make sure I unmuted all of y'all. All right, so listen, first question. Why do women lie about consent? Let's start with John. Why do women lie about consent?
About consent?
Yeah.
Why do women lie about consent? What do you mean? Women are women, bro. It's Eve. I mean, why do women lie? Look, my daughter's right here lying right now in front of me. Look, I'll just say this. I saw that. Give me a second. I'm getting distracted. I apologize. I'm making my quick point and move on. Basically, I'm listening to her. If she got a phone call, right? She's a witness. Was she a witness in the crime supposedly? Because she better be, right? Because that's already proof that she told her that she was consenting. One, and then two, I I give her props because I saw that I think she said Menchaca or some. She had a name tattooed. I was like, she's gonna say something. I thought her off the bat, no offense, I thought she was gonna say something real stupid, but she redeemed herself by saying about her son. So
Yep.
I think the whole thing with that is a lot of people, a lot of women especially, they never think about the aspect of the son. That could be your son, and they never think about that. So I thought that was pretty cool, but I don't know what the question was. I'm sorry, man. I'm getting distracted.
It's right there
Why
on the
do women
screen for
lie
you,
about
my
consent?
guy.
There you go. My ADD, bro. I'm sorry. Why do women lie by consent? Well, I mean, who are you with? If you're a high profile person, obviously, me too. You're gonna get a bunch of money. That's one reason why you lie. There's a bunch of reasons why women lie.
All right, let's move it around right quick, John. Let me bring my guy Victor in here, man.
Women lie about consent because other women don't hold women accountable. And so when there's no consequence, it becomes standard operating procedure. So it's the same reason why class action lawsuits can be brought up from 30, 40 years ago, and people like we saw with Bill Cosby, like you see saw with R. Kelly, like they even now questioning Hugh Hefner, even though women sign NDAs and everything to be in the Playboy Mansion, for whatever reason. And it's just, the truth is, this is why, I talk about rule number 5, what I'm saying, so much with accountable masculinity.
Rule number 5 is from his book for the audience if you don't know.
Yeah, rule number 5 is sexual discipline. Just because you can doesn't mean you should entertain sexual attention from every woman that shows it to you, because this is the risk that goes with it. And the whole point of it is that this is the number one thing that takes men out of position altogether. Like, it don't even have to be true. It can be a rumor. Somebody can make something up. Somebody can come online and question a man's sexuality or whatever his proclivities are. And the simple question of it, without any foundation of evidence or anything, is enough to destroy or compromise a man's integrity and his reputation. It is a reputation destruction tool. It's cheap, it's effective, and it has a lot of staying power, when it comes down to it. So women lie about consent because reputation destruction towards men is beneficial to them, because it gets to further victimize them, even if it's not true.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Let me bring Vulcan in, but definitely reputation. You get a bad rap of guys you sleeping. So Vulcan, what you got on this, man? Why do women lie about consent? Talk to us.
I think there's a number of reasons why women lie about consent, but I think if we take it back to the very beginning, as soon as there was no more waiting until you get married, and women had to go out there and bargain and negotiate out in the open market, this was going to be the next thing on the agenda to start happening, because they're not the best when it comes to negotiating. And a lot of times with negotiations, it's about who has more leverage. And ladies know what men want. Men know what women want. Generally, women want attention. They don't want to be lonely. They don't want to be bored. And in exchange for that, women give up access to their bodies. And sometimes they give up that access to their bodies, and what they want doesn't get fulfilled, or they meet somebody who's finally doing it and they feel bad about exchanging it for cheap in the past. Then they'll rewrite the narrative. And I think with this situation, this lady, she might have been testing her friend to see if her friend would go along with the lie. And thankfully, her friend wasn't willing to do that.
Wow.
But if she'd have been like, girl, you know what? Is that what you really think happened for real? Or girl, did he do something to you without you? You didn't want to do it? She can retroactively apply her not wanting to have done it a couple of years later into that moment and be like, yeah, I didn't want to do it.
Real quick.
Why did you come to that conclusion?
10 seconds. You said, James, that they don't feel satisfied. Guys, go to bluechew.com/John. I'm just kidding. I agree with you, but go ahead. I'm just shamelessly plugging in my promo.
Yeah, what made you come up with that? Why did you think of that she was actually testing her friend to see to go along with the lie? What made you think of that? That's interesting.
Well, because what she's bringing up to her friend, because it's something that happened that long ago. Why do you even need to talk to your friend about something like that? Why would you go that far back when you're talking about a current guy you're dealing with?
Would that even hold up in court though, James? I mean,
we learn.
Everything holds up in court when it targets men. When it comes to women,
there's no time. Well, so time is not a
statute of limitation.
No, look, they went back on. They went back on Bill Cosby 30, 40 years.
But we're talking about, are we talking about someone that's famous or not? That's a big difference.
It actually, that's the point. It doesn't, you don't even have to be famous.
I know that's the sad part. But what I'm saying, you're talking about a famous person. I don't, what non-famous people do we know that a girl's going to come back 2 years later and say you raped her, and then it's going to fall and it's going to go to court.
Great.
Statistically, pull it up. Ask AI.
But non-famous people are kind of like that's kind of an oxymoron. We wouldn't know them because they're not famous. So
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to divide the two, because if you're
I tell you like this. We've seen it happen with high school athletes all the time, and college athletes. Those guys are not
famous, but okay.
No, but what I'm saying
is
popular. Oh, well, what I'm saying is like, okay, let's go with the Duke lacrosse team. They got caught up with that dancer, right? She lied on the entire Duke lacrosse team, and then came back and said she lied about it. So like, there aren't that many famous lacrosse players that we know, because we don't know any of those guys by name, do you?
What? Are you kidding me?
Dead serious. Like lacrosse,
I can name them all.
You could name a bunch of lacrosse players. That'll be great.
Nah, not really. I hear you though.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that how many times have we seen high school athletes that had their career derailed because of a false accusation? Future NFL talent that they went unrealized because of a law. I mean, because of a reputation destruction practice. I could think of a few right off the bat: Brian Banks, Sean Oakman. These guys got locked up or had their careers put on hold and compromised because of a lie. This happens.
That's more common. What you're saying. We actually seen that growing up. Famous football players, even popular players, and whether it was in high school or college. But what's y'all thoughts on this? This is the first time I ever heard something like this.
I was married for 15 years.
Married for 15 years. Only after our divorce did I realize I never consented to sex.
Yo, she can go to hell, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
Man, I mean, it's also a Western thing, right? So would you agree it's also a culture thing? I mean, I'm sure you don't get these situations happening in the Middle East or other countries. So this is a Western thing?
No, I think it's a nature and a psychological thing.
So you're saying in an Islamic country that this is going to happen?
Yes, it happens in Islamic countries.
Where a wife's going to say, "My husband raped me."
Yep, for sure.
Hey,
like,
John,
they won't.
Hold on, John.
They
use
won't
another word, a force. Great.
Oh, okay.
Be careful with the R word.
Oh, jeez. I can't say retarded either.
Maybe. I don't know. I got to check the guidelines. No, I'm joking. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, they. It's not the fact of whether it does happen or not. It's about how. It's about where it takes place in the most part, where people come to these type of situations. So, because if you want to use an Islamic country, each country has a different level of extremism. You know what I'm saying? So you have to take that into consideration. I actually just put a video up for approval. When you get a chance to check it out, this lady can talk about it. She's actually from Iran, and she can describe what's taking place amongst women in their country when it comes down to this type of behavior. So.
Okay, so I'm gonna play it in shortly. So, John, you disagree? You think it's a culture?
I was at a house right now. This girl's from Iran. Literally, I just only saying the reason why I'm doing this. Again, y'all see that?
Yep.
No, it's blurred. It's blurred.
God darn it! She's from Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about it? Go ahead, explain.
Oh, I mean, she's. I mean, they're submissive, man. Like, she's cool. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, the husband.
So, you disagree with Victor? You think it's more of a culture thing?
Well, it's obviously a culture thing. I mean, this is not something that happens very much. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's kind of wacky to go. You can go years out, but in this situation, we're talking about this situation.
This is a Western culture issue. I'm with you on that.
But this situation, let's try to stay on topic with my ADD. This situation is she called her friend, right? So she told her friend she wasn't. So this is a lie, right? So
but right now we're talking about this woman. That was earlier as far as
okay. So which one are we talking about then?
We're talking about the one that's on the screen.
I was married for 15 years only after our divorce.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're married, yeah, there's a thin line between raping your wife. I guess that's true because I'm married, right? If I didn't think about it that way, but that's a hard case to really prove. I think it is not American. Anything goes. I think it's crazy. You never know. But for most countries, I think this. Okay, so now that I know those details, I think it's just more of definitely a Western thing. It's more of an American thing. You could add Canada to it, but you're not going to add Mexico to that.
All right, hold on, Jen. Let me bring Vulcan in here. Let me get you to share your thoughts on this post. I was married for 15 years. Only after our divorce did I realize I never consented to sex. Let's get your thoughts on that.
I think it just goes back to what we're talking about earlier. When it comes to these types of situations, we really got to define and iron out what consent is. Is consent going to be where we have to have a verbal contract before any type of interaction?
There's an app for that, by the way. Straight up.
So people got to figure that part out. And until as a society we figure that part out, we're going to have these issues. And the reason why it's going to be an issue is because for a romance typically to even be a thing, talking about it almost ruins it. Everybody who's had to hook up with people before, and you meet somebody out on a date, everything's going really well, and it turns into this or that. Talking about it prior to is a turnoff, especially for the ladies. But almost exclusively for the ladies, actually. So it kind of puts a lot of the young men, especially
I think grapes is the best way to go, and both parties might not realize that. Go ahead. Jay.
Whoa, okay. Just go past that. All right, so
just saying, not literally. I'm saying if you're married, come on, dude. Every girl wants to be dominated, but that's what I mean. Go back into the instincts. Go back to the regular instinct. Come on, man. It's the truth. I'm just agreeing. I'm just agreeing with Vulcan. He just said no one wants to talk about it.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about it. Now they've had things like they had something called marriage by capture in China.
So this video is for the people.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Vulcan. Finish.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
What the heck?
I was trying to get this video ready while you were speaking. All right, let me play this.
Who are backing up Iran right now, mostly Democrats, that they are supporting Iran right now. So I want to go over a few rules and laws in Iran about women. Basically, it's everything against what Democrats believe. So if you're a woman in Iran, they see you as a half a brain. So you don't have the full brain. So let's say
this is about consent, my guy.
That's Borat. Brain the size of a squirrel.
No, listen, just let it play out.
There should be 3 women. So your witness, like your words, will be approved in the court. Versus if it's a man and it witnessed a murder, only 1 man is enough. Why? Because they say women have half a brain. If you're a woman in Iran, you have kids and you want to divorce, you only can have that child until 7 years. After 7 years, your child is for your husband, and he can come and take the child away from you, and you might never ever see your child again. Or if he doesn't want to, he can leave this child with you, and there is nothing that you can do about it. If you're a woman in Iran and you want to divorce your husband, you have to go through hell. But if your husband wants to divorce you, it's super easy for that. If you're a woman in Iran and you're being beaten up by your husband, and me as your neighbor call the police and say, my neighbor is, hitting his wife to death, police will do nothing. They will say, well, it's a family matter and it is his wife. So basically a wife for a man is like an object, just like they bought a car or something.
Mike.
Why'd you want to play that video, Vic?
Because she was getting to the part about the consent piece. You gotta let her finish playing. She's gonna talk about the consent piece when it comes down to it, because we need to hear it from another perspective outside the country. So if you let it keep cooking, you'll see it, because she's getting up to it now.
Do you remember what she said as far as the consent?
I don't know. We could just let it finish playing.
All right, let me see. This is a long.
It's
like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe about 50% of it because it's a woman talking, but go on.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, she's the one that's dealing with the scenario in Iran. And we need to listen to it, because the point is that a lot of the women that's in Western culture think that they're oppressed by men, but they're not listening to a woman that lives in a country that's actually oppressed by men.
Facts. Send me that video so I can
that's what I'm saying. Like, we need to hear the whole thing.
Chris.
All right, hold on. We got
a
couple. Let's let it flow, because we'll go to the next topic. I'm going to read some of these comments. Shout out to Jackson Noah. Said, hello, bro. Shout out to Jackson Noah. Gail Bernard said, what? And Nate said,
I said grapes. I said grapes.
Yeah. What's up, Nate? All right, man. All right,
I'm talking about grapes, guys. Grapes. I love grapes.
Hold on, Victor. We're going to just go to the next topic for a minute.
Because when I get famous, they're gonna come back to this crap, and they're gonna use it as a hit piece on me. Gotta be careful. I feel like I'm just like, oh,
it's too late. They already got you.
Dang it! I knew it.
Let's just pivot right quick. Go to the next topic. I wanna get y'all. Oh, all right, here we go. What happened with what happened with Victor?
So I'm guessing you guys are like, obviously, I'm guessing you like censor all this stuff. I mean, edit it, right? Because this would, like, you edit all this stuff, or just this is live, but your video coming out, you're gonna edit this crap. So Jamie is out. You're gonna edit this out in your actual format. I'm assuming. I would hope so, bro. This is way too.
I do something's not working. Hold on for a minute, guys. I'm trying to. Okay,
negative experiences with people that lead with their religion.
Are you religious?
Not. I'm less and less interested in religious men, if I'm being honest with you. I've had some negative experiences with people that lead with their religion.
Are you religious?
Not really. No. So I would say I'm a person of faith, but I'm not. I was raised in a Baptist church, very, very religious family. I don't think that just because you're a Christian that you are, not living a good life. I'm just saying, if that's the first thing that you bring to the table, it's a red flag for me, because
I don't they're hiding behind their religion.
I don't care. Why? What does this matter to me?
With that before? That's what that happened.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have a trigger behind that.
I do.
Sure.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I absolutely. Yeah. I'm acknowledging I'm triggered by this, and it's become a red flag for me. Wow. I'm not saying that if you believe in God that you are a red flag. I also don't give a fuck. So just tell somebody else about it. I think for some men, they think that that's what women are looking for. Like looking for a good Christian man.
Yeah.
And some people are, but just not me. So
that's my thing about religion too. Like, like man may not like lead with it, but like some men needed to pull them out of places. Like when there's nothing else, like I felt like religion like pulled me out of some dark places.
Mm-hmm. Religion or faith?
Faith, probably faith,
right?
More so than like,
because to me those are two different things.
Okay,
believing in God, having spirituality, having a connection with your spiritual side, praying, all of those things I do.
Yeah,
but
same. But religion is different.
To lead with like like let's go to church on Sunday.
I'm Christian.
I'm less and less.
You need sex every day.
Whoa.
All right, fellas. Hey, so question: why do modern women? Why do they? I want to say they don't desire Christian, devout Christian men. Let me go with John first. Why don't? Oh, you muted. Hold on, let me see if I.
Yeah, I'm on.
All
right. Okay, so I would say who's saying this. I don't know. And by the way,
we go next. This is Joy Taylor. Let me bring Victor in here.
Put
What's
the
your
que-
thoughts on that?
Hold on, real quick. Put the question on so then y'all can go. I haven't.
All right, I got you,
I
bro.
haven't seen any of this stuff. So
All right. All right, go ahead, Victor.
Okay. I would say that most the women that she was speaking about, or the men that she was speaking about, she just doesn't want that overt theological presentation. People that she specified it pretty well. She doesn't want anybody that leads with that, but it's not a bad thing that is part of that man's makeup, you know, because we all have compromises that we make with people. I think if what you believe makes you a better person, then that's cool. But if what you believe makes you think you better than other people, then that's something else. And I think that when you start talking about the some of the talking points that women have about being oppressed and controlled by men, that religious lead in is a very big red flag for most women that think that way, you know. And I think that it's justifiable. It's no different than, like, men, we have our red flags that we judge women by, you know. If they come in talking about they looking for a protector and provider and all this other stuff and all this coded language, you know, women have their coded language that they have to look for too. And I think honestly, the best way for it to not be an issue is that if your individual outcomes match up with your character, you know, that has to be part of it. This has to be a vetting process. And then I also believe that a lot of men don't know how to talk to women. They don't know how to entertain, you know, or engage them on an emotional level in order to, because like when you understand someone emotionally, you change the words that you use, you know, and that way when it's time for you to assert yourself, she could tell the difference. So how to take you, you know, as literal as possible, you know. But if you just want to come in leading with nothing but law, rules, edict, and some other recycled opinion that she's heard all of her life, how are you any different than any other man before that she's experienced?
All right. Let me go ahead and bring Vulcan in here, man. What's your thoughts?
I think everybody said some really good stuff. What's the question?
The question is, why don't modern women desire Christian men or devout Christian men?
Yeah, I think the reason why they don't desire devout Christian men, I think, goes to what Victor's point was to some extent. You know, part of it is very traditional. When you invoke the Bible or the Quran or some type of sacred text, you're saying this is set in stone. And I think a lot of modern women don't like that. They want the roles to be more fluid, to be less ironed out, you know, kind of go with the vibe and the feeling based off how the guy is. If I feel really secure and protected by him, then I'm more willing to fulfill a more traditional role. But if the guy is a little bit weaker, but he's a good provider, but I don't feel that protected by him, or I'm not as drawn to him, I don't look at him as very dominant, then I'd want our roles to be more fluid. I probably want him to wash dishes more often. Because you've heard women say, Dr. Cheyenne, Brian, you've heard these different women say, I've been with certain men, and because these men were so dominant, I just fell right in the line. And with other men, they don't feel the desire to do that. They want it to be flexible. They want the roles to be flexible. And when you invoke the Bible, then you're saying, oh, this is fixed. And not only is it fixed, but I'm gonna hold you accountable to it. And I think that for a lot of women, that is going to be a turnoff. I think Tracy Ellis Ross said something very similar, and you hear her saying it as well.
And then the other thing is too, some women just want to get married, and some women don't want to be wives. It's two different things.
All right. What's your thoughts on here, John?
Too complicated of a question, to be honest with you.
All right.
I mean, it depends. To me, it's a concept. It's such a general question. I mean, I like what James was saying. To me, it's more of accountability. If you're a true Christian, you're going to be accountable, and if you believe in you know, man over over woman, not partner, which partners use very common, but guys use that. But I mean, that's a gay term. Sorry, guys, married men out there. You say your partner, that's gay. So basically, you know, if you're married, you're above your woman, and that's hard to take. I get it. Jesse Peterson, put Jesse Peterson / Bluetooth / La Flamme Blanc. Anyway, that's my only topic on it, man. My only thing would be that. I mean, I really don't know. They don't want to date a Christian dude unless they're trying to get the D. That's the other thing too. If you're really a Christian trying to get to know a girl, maybe that's the other thing. That was my problem because I was cute in the valley. I was a widow from the ghetto.
Shout out.
I had plenty of options.
Shout out. Special segment for my guy,
Virgin
Josh.
19, baby. Virgin until I was 19.
Sullivan City.
By choice.
Let's get to this comment. Shout out to Brendan J. Munoz. Excuse me, I'm not depressed, Jonathan. So she's talking to somebody. All right, Mr. Watts says Munoz about to drop some bars. Shout out to Munoz.
Who's dropping bars? What's up? Dropping bars? Who's dropping bars? Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Watts said he's dropping some bars.
Mr.
Watts says, I think.
I thought it was an actual
long paragraph with these comments, man. Come on, man. All right, I think she recognized that men that lead with the quote unquote religion are going to expect her to fit into a religious woman framework. Yeah, I can see that. AKA be submissive, be a part of the plan God has destined for me. Shout out to Mr. Watts. All right, so they said okay. Oh, Mr. Watts also said cooking with Vulcan. All right, and then shout out to accountability. I'm accountable masculinity university character versus characteristics. All right, so let me go to the next question. What is the practical difference between a man that believes in God and a Christian man? Let me start off with Victor. You muted.
Character versus characteristics, because by and large, most people believe that God is in them, you know. So if God is in you, then it should reflect in the way that you move. Now, if you the Christian man part, I interpret it as more of a characteristic, meaning like you're like a salesman, you know what I'm saying? You got to run around and tell everybody, you know, and you have this desire to not force yourself on the other people, but it becomes what you are, and it's like a costume, because to me it looks insecure, because the minute that you take it off and you clock out, you know what I'm saying, from being this overt, you know, I guess Christian for this sake of conversation, then you still
Christian, sir. Sorry.
So then you're doing things behind closed doors that don't, you know, that counteract. It makes you a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think that if you believe in God, other people can tell you believe in God by the way that you move. You make righteous moves. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't lean on the self-righteous, like meaning like if you have the power and knowledge to inform people, but you could take that same power to inform other people, and you could twist that to your advantage and hurt people, right? So people have choices to make every day, and I think it's about living a disciplined life versus an undisciplined life to some degree, you know.
All right, let's go ahead and break John in here, man. What is the practical difference between a man that believes in God and a Christian man?
Man, go to Vulcan, because I'm still on the last one. I'm so.
All right, that's cool. Let's bring Vulcan in here. What is the question?
Yeah, I think the primary practical difference is that somebody who just believes in God, they're still very open and malleable on what their beliefs are going to be, what they're not going to be. They're not going to be as resolved or resolute about certain things that go into everyday practices that somebody who's more devout, if they're Muslim or they're a Christian man, then they're going to be going through the teachings of Christ, the apostles, are going over the Bible. So it's going to be a little more rigid. It's going to be more ironed out what their beliefs are, what the expectations are. When somebody who believes in God, it kind of leaves it very ambiguous. And the reason why I think that's a good question is because when you go back to what she's saying, she doesn't mind of somebody who believes in God. It's just somebody who's like a Christian man, because that comes with so much more stuff. I think part of the thing that I've noticed out in the market today is that women who are Christian, they prefer a guy who believes in God more than a Christian man, just because of the fact that, there's already been a certain appetite developed for things that would be considered like more unsavory within Christian terms. And so getting a man who's a little bit more, I would say, religiously effeminate is more desirable because it's a lot easier for him to be comfortable with the way you already are and how you already think and believe, all the different heretical teachings and doctrines that people have assimilated into, because they're not going to get into more detailed, precept upon precept type of understanding of their text. So as long as everything's kind of superficial and ambiguous, it allows the feminine to move freely in and out of it. And if the guy is on that similar vibe, then it works out perfectly because they're just kind of feeling their way through together. There's nobody that's really covering the other person or saying, okay, look, this is the framework we're going to work within. And this is how we're going to be held accountable by this particular type of teaching. So I think most people today would appreciate it. That's part of the reason I think the rise of the non-denominational churches is because it's not Baptist, not Lutheran, it's not Methodist, it's not specific. We're all just coming in here. Who knows what the person next to me actually believes, what they don't believe. But we all believe in God. We all think the Bible's a good way to live. So let's just all drink our Starbucks coffee and sing our praises until service is over.
All right. That's cool.
All
right, let's go ahead and give our closing thoughts on this topic. Let's start with John, Victor, and end with Vulcan. Let's get our closing thoughts on this topic. Go ahead, John.
Closing topics. I didn't have a beginning topic. I can't follow this guy, man, right here. I can't follow him. To me, God is, we keep it simple, but we'll move on. God, who is God? If you join the Illuminati, you join all those people, you join the Freemasons, you just have to believe in any kind of God. So to me, the difference that's a big difference, because a Christian man is following Christ. Jesus Christ is King. So the difference is massive. I mean, what is the difference? Going to hell and heaven? I don't know.
Dope. All right, what's up, Victor? Closing thoughts.
I think a man has to follow some order higher than him to order his own steps. Because you can live your own life, but you set rules and boundaries for your own life, and you have to live up to whatever rules that you set for your life. If you don't have anything to base it off of, then like there's just no way you can have rules and standards and then not based off of something else that's based on something righteous, So you can't just get rules from thin air. When you get from thin air, like people aren't perfect, situations aren't perfect, our choices and intents aren't necessarily perfect either. But the whole point in having a standard is because you want to stay in compliance with what makes sense to live a righteous life. So I think that is very important to have something higher than yourself. So, you're not the person that's living in an echo chamber and you can't hear information. You shouldn't be your own God.
All right. Okay. All right, Vulcan, last words for this topic.
I think just to sum up both questions as far as with the difference and then going back to why women don't desire those types of things. And I think this points out to, I was watching that movie Straw, the Tyler Perry movie, and I'm not the biggest fan of Tyler Perry's cinema experience. But one thing I can say is that, and I noticed this on a lot of TV shows, whether a lot of the shows that I've seen, a lot of movies, that the men are intellectually impotent, spiritually impotent. So we're living in a society where all the males are being like having all their potency taken from them. And so what happens is you have this lady who's taking the more dominant role, and they're kind of training all the men to look at themselves as just more of a mascot of leadership, a mascot of true protection, because true protection starts intellectually. If you were to hire a security guard, there's going to be certain things you're going to know, hey, we move this way, we don't do this. It's going to come with some level of instruction about what the expectations are going to be. On both sides. That starts before the physical stuff starts. Hey, if I move like this, I expect you to move this way. This is how we exit. This is how we come in. And the same thing goes when it comes to, more devout religious practitioners that have a more detailed breakdown of what their expectations are, because what that enables you to be able to do is to lead in a tangible way, a scalable way. And you got things like astrology and manifestation,
numerology,
numerology, all of these, you know, crystals.
That's my stuff right there.
All these types of things right here that is sweeping the spiritual community that has also Christians as a part of its constituency. And a lot of the women are getting swept up into those kind of things. And the reason why there's no recourse is because organized religion is not being allowed in those arenas as much, or it's not as much respected. So a lot of the disorganized religions, I would call them, you got organized religions, and you got disorganized religions. I would consider a lot of those more disorganized. So it fits with the feminine frame. And if a man is not well versed,
cluttered, is because they're reflecting of their brain. They're all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely right. And so what happens when you have men who are not well versed in more organized theologies, they don't have the desire to combat those types of beliefs. They don't know enough about them to deal with them. And so she's able to stay in that framework, and the man is pretty much impotent to do anything about it.
And you've seen that even on this topic when he said he was spiritual, she said she said he's religious. Paul Pierce, he said religious. She said, are you religious or is it fake?
He said, do you believe in God, or do you have faith? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it was like religion. Yeah, he said, was it religion? Because he said religion got me out of some dark moments. And she goes, religion or was it faith? And he goes, probably. He wasn't even sure. And that's part of the issue. Of course, he's an NBA player. He's not a scholar. But part of my issue with a lot of these shows that I see is they bring on guys who are not skilled in articulation and not philosophically skilled as well. And so what happens is you got somebody who's not able to really articulate themselves. She's having to refine his sentences. She's talking about religion. She's talking about that instead of him saying, "Well, can you explain what the difference is from your vantage point, that I can give you a better understanding." But because of course faith gets even more generic. You got religion.
I was going to ask you, how would you answer that?
Yeah,
she would ask that.
Well, my answer would have been, can you give me your difference? Because I mean, obviously, I know what the words mean, but that doesn't mean that's how she's using them.
Yeah, context is key. If you don't level set the conversation, it's just like that episode we did before when we was talking about what's masculine and what's not. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's interpretation is different. Mm-hmm. And truthfully, everything that has a title has a level of discipline that's associated with it. So it should disqualify certain things. So like when I talk about when I mention God, it might be ambiguous to somebody that's been trained up in the way that, you know, like religious practices should be conducted. And the other part of it is this too. Scholars studied long before Jesus was born of like the coming of the Messiah. They were fighting for kingdoms. They were fighting for the Persian Empire was a thing long before the birth of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So there have been people that have historically recorded this thing. There's been names that have pre-existed before time, you know, and regardless of what people think is real or not, everything that we get entertained by came from somebody's stroke of genius. Okay, so the power to imagine is almost a God-given talent. It absolutely is, because like if you could say as a man here that man wrote the Bible, right? Well, in every religious text, man is the instrument of God. You know what I'm saying? So the instrument performs, right, with the right information. So the information has to come from somewhere. So brilliant men have always been ordained as being holy, above, you know what I'm saying, most things. And we also give credit to entertainers based on, you know, like the work that they do, but many people can tell if that work is demonic or not, right?
Yeah.
So that means you're automatically giving credit to something great to God if you believe in, you know what I'm saying, demonic work too, because you can't have one without the other.
Dang.
Yeah. Well, another thing I'll say about this topic is also Christianity is one of the best methods to combat relativism. Relativism, for everybody out there, just being the belief that everything's relative. There is no right. There is no wrong. There is no true. There is no false. Everything's relative based off your perspective. You hear people say things like, that's your truth. Everybody has their own truth.
Yep.
So now you can own truth. You can have people that have different truths about the same thing. And what's the different theories of truth, the one we all mostly subscribe to is called the correspondence theory of truth, which is truth is that which corresponds to reality, meaning that true is whatever is the reality. And it's not, you don't get your own version of it. We can misapprehend what's really going on. I think you can't have your own truth. So somebody was calling.
Yeah. All right. Let me read this comment. Shout out.
Yes, I just want to say that part is one of the main ways to combat relativism.
What? I couldn't hear it. What was that?
Yeah, your screen is going in and out.
Somebody was trying to call him.
Okay.
Like.
We can hear you. It's just your screen was going out.
You're gonna read it out. Read it out again.
Yeah. Let me get to these comments. Christianity is one of the few that would challenge and disqualify the man/woman that believes. Shout out to Accountable Masculinity University said to women, religion represents toxicity of patriarchy. Yes, that's actually a good point. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to the next topic. I'm just going to explain the video. Well, not explain the video, just give you an introduction. The topic is black. What is it called? Black wife experience, right? The black wife effect. You see that actually Andrew Schultz actually got in trouble for this on social media. He made
so we're gonna get in trouble for it now. Let's go for it.
He made some comments about it. So let's go into this podcast with this guy. We're gonna do something different. We're gonna play a little bit of the video and we're just gonna stop and pause and we're gonna all give our thoughts on this topic. All right, here we go. Y'all can see it?
Yep.
There we go.
Black wife.
I've met you have a darker wife.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Safe to say that.
Safe to say.
Yeah. Beautiful lady, very charming. Bridget, is that her name?
Brittany.
Yeah. Brittany, is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, did like just growing up in Philly lead you to that, you think?
Dude, I don't
kind
know.
Of a chocolatey bride.
Since I was a little kid, it's almost my only theory is because in grade school I like dated a Mexican lady. I've dated everybody. I've dated, like white ladies, everything. Yeah. But that was definitely, that was something I was drawn to, or black women forever. But my only theory is my mom was like super Christian. She still is super Catholic. So she blocked like MTV, VH1, all the music channels
except for
BET because she didn't know it existed. So that was the only music channel I had growing up. So in my formative years, I just watched rap video after rap video, and I think it might have had some sort of effect.
Yeah.
So that's
my only better have my money. That's so interesting, dude. Yeah, dude. I remember I made love to a woman who was pretty much black.
Right.
And yeah, it was definitely, there was like more in the muscle or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you thought you were impressed by the experience. What do you say? Pretty much. She was like,
she said she was black. I believed her.
True.
True. I'm not fucking looking at paperwork or whatever. I'm not fucking prove it out.
Yeah, no.
My Whoop bracelet was like, black, it pops up on there.
Yeah, I just, for me, they definitely won out for me as well. They won my heart. Collectively, they won my heart.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it was, man. It was just like,
yeah,
you like what you like,
yeah. I think I was afraid probably of black girls growing up. They had a lot of the black girls in our town and stuff would get knocked up by the black guys at a young age.
Yeah.
So all of our black girls disappeared at around 13 years old and got pregnant.
Yeah. And they come back
and then they come back and they're just different, or they just like, they have a child now, or they have like baby milk on their shoulder or whatever. And also I think they had to defend themselves against like black, like dudes in their town or whatever that were like trying to, get with them when they were young.
Yeah.
So I think they were more into the whole, like communicating with guys nature. So I think like a lot of times they would, like they were just more advanced. Like the black kids in our school were more sexually advanced. They just had sex earlier and stuff. So I think that was intimidating. The black girls were intimidating because they had more experience.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes you talk to a black guy, like I got head when I was 10. And you're like, what? Like for real?
Yeah, sorry, dude.
It's okay.
This place just went out of business. We're good.
It's true. You do hear that a lot. You're not wrong.
Sorry. Yeah.
You're fine. It is crazy.
When you're, bro, if somebody put my wiener, okay, that God made for me that I kept in my pants for him, if somebody put that in their mouth and I was 10 years old, dude, oh my God, I would have freaking. I would have lit a fire in our yard and made smoke signals.
It's over
for God to come and help us.
It's over. It's over. I don't know how. It's crazy.
I would have hit him with a wrench or something. That would have scared me so much. So that's what's so. But yeah, so that was kind of crazy. Sorry, I don't know if I spit on you or not. But
no, that was good. That was hilarious.
That kind of stuff's pretty crazy. And then
I get the intimidation factor. I do get, but I always whenever I like will see people and I always just assume I always see like softer sides of it. It's something I've had my whole life where I can see like kind of like I don't know. I always can see people's softer nature because people present one way, then you're like with them. Oh yeah, it's a totally different thing.
I would date a black woman, dude. I'd probably maybe marry a black woman. You know, like I think when I was a kid, I thought that wasn't a real possibility or anything.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But as an adult, I see that that's a possibility. Like I think also just from where I was from, they didn't have like a lot of interracial dating at the time. You know,
it was even like I lived in the Philadelphia suburbs, so it was like very 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 white where I was growing up. But like even in college, some of my friends would come up to me and be like, "That's crazy, dude." They like couldn't wrap their head around it. Yeah. And it wasn't like a hateful thing. They're just like, it was just a mind blower. They'd be like, "Bro, it's crazy."
The funny thing to me though is like black dudes are always like, "Hey man, you scared to date a black chick?" And I'm like, "You aren't dating a black chick." Every fucking black dude isn't dating a black chick. But the first thing they say is, "Oh, you scared of some of that black chick?"
They get hyped on you when they see you with a black chick. They'll get hyped, and then sometimes they'll be like, "You're an easy target. I can kind of like, I'll fuck with you," or they'll do like a hard checkout on your babe. You have to just go nuts. You gotta get white boy crazy.
Yeah.
So if they do like a damn, you have to do you have to spaz because you can't tolerate that. So I've gone white boy crazy a couple times.
Yeah, you're like, I'm over here doing your job, motherfucker. Okay.
Well, dude, apparently black women and Asian men are the like Asian women tend to date outside the race a lot. Black men date outside the race a lot, but black women and Asian men tend to not date outside the race a lot.
So like the yin and yang twins or whatever. Like, what are you saying?
No, they're just
so black and Asian do not date.
Well, black men will date outside the race, where traditionally black women tend to not date outside.
Oh
the race.
wow! So it's just
and Asian women date white guys a lot, but a lot of Asian men don't date outside of the race. So it kind of like fucks you up in the dating pool.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think black women are coming around though. But yeah, they were fiercely loyal. It's still, you get a little, people are it does. Some people don't like it. Obviously, you get people who are like big into like black love, where they're like, it's not the same, and I'm like, whatever, man, that's your thing.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, but it's not your fault.
Exactly. I don't feel any kind of way about it, but it's just like celebrate that if you want. That's fine. Yeah. But it's like,
dude, I remember the first time I I was working out with a buddy of mine, a black guy, right, and he like touched my hand. He was helping spot me or something, and I was like, damn, I'd never even touched a black dude's hand or nothing.
They have beautiful nails too. Dude, there's like a level of like black coolness where you grow one pinky nail long so you can crack a blunt with your long pinky nail. It's pretty sick. Wow. Yeah, it was like a evolution of the coke nail. But you can kind of just
that's cool.
Yeah, you can just crack a blunt with a long pinky
being
nail.
Black, definitely there's a lot of parts that seem super fun about it, and then there's some parts that I'm kind of like, man, that's that part that is not for me. I couldn't handle that.
It's definitely, I think it's easier than a black dude dating a white chick. Because everyone's just kind of like, people's kind of like first when you first meet them will like kind of giggle and be like, oh, you like black girl, shit like that, and like kind of dap you up and you're like, sweet. Whereas like I feel like the black, maybe it's different now, but back in the day, like being a black dude at like a white family party, there was definitely some uncles hitting you with like icicles in the eyes, just glaring at you. Like,
what you doing over there? Huh?
I had my one friend was a black dude, and he was dating a white chick, and he said like her brother would ask him like weird shit, being like, "What do you think?" He would get drunk and be like, "What do you, like we should?" He was a wrestler. He'd be like, "Let's wrestle right now."
Ugh.
He'd be like, "Bro, chill, man. Like we don't have to do this."
Yeah.
It was so.
That dude's gay, probably. But
I think black dudes aren't threatened by white dudes as much as white dudes might be threatened by black guys.
Well, yeah, because they don't have to be, because they can always beat up white dudes.
Yeah. Bigger dicks. Statistically, bigger dicks can beat you up.
Some of that's a rumor, first of all, I've heard, but a lot of the ones on the internet, yes.
They've done condom sizing studies, and like it's not as much of a difference as you think, but there's a difference.
Dude, the last thing I would want to have is some big old long dick bothering me all day, dude.
I hear you on that.
Yeah.
I'm high and tight. I'm ready for action. I'm ready for action at all times. Ready for action at all times.
Oh, I'm fucking, I got that John Stockton, homie, dude. You know what I'm saying? I'll help you out, bro. I'll try to assist you in whatever you're headed. I'm here, dude.
I'm ready to run. I'm in sport mode.
What was I just going to ask you about? Yeah, there's definitely some white comics married to black women. I think T.J. Miller, I believe.
Gary Owens.
Yeah.
Who else?
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr.
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher's ever married to a black lady?
Oh, he loves
dating.
It's crazy.
He loves
that was a head-to-head. That was a black wife head-to-head. Bill Maher and Bill Burr. They were both dressed pretty good too. They both were black wife affected, and they argued over like Israel and Palestine.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, there's like a fucking viral clip.
Really?
Yeah,
let's hear it.
They fucking fought. It's kind of funny.
Let's hear it.
Bill Burr was ruthless.
What is black wife affected? Let me get that, and then let's watch the clip. Can you?
Just when you start dressing better because your wife's black, and they really don't tolerate like if you're not dressed well. Like I fought along. I hold it down. I still wear kind of like bummy stuff, but they'll wear on you.
Yeah, black people like to look nice.
Yeah,
it's important.
It's very important. And like and at weddings, it's the opposite. Like you have to dance. If you don't dance at a wedding, people are like, "What the fuck's your problem?"
Really?
White wedding, you sit in a chair the whole time.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot of pressure to dance. Yeah,
you can gamble on your phone even.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, you're like, I object. You know, but you're just so gayist or whatever, you can't help but yell it.
Yeah, that was a lot to unpack right there, fellas. You Munoz, just on mute. So I took a few notes.
It was hilarious
comments
though.
they made.
I was laughing my ass off. I'm not gonna lie, but go ahead, James.
Anybody have any initial comments before we get into? I wrote down some things that they brought up that I think could be worth a conversation. Before anybody got any initial thoughts? You know,
no, on the podcast specifically, editing, yes, that's long. But go ahead, Vulcan.
So he mentioned like black guys being more sexually advanced. Y'all, let's go around. If you agree or disagree with that.
I was with your brother the other day. Okay.
The reason I'm gonna say I agree with, he said 10 years old. I heard that before, so I thought that was, unfortunately, I thought that was normal age for men to get experience with sex. So when he said that was unheard of in their culture, I'm like, oh wow. So yeah, I agree with him. If that's not normal in their culture, I have to agree with him. Yeah.
Victor, what about you?
Well, you know how I feel about, sexual discipline and stuff. And I say all the time about how there's a large group of women having sex with a small group of men. And he told some uncomfortable truths from his point of view that echo exactly what I've been saying for the longest period of time. Which types of homes are producing the women that he was talking about, So the young girls that he was talking about that was already sexually advanced. Mm-hmm. So that's another part that feeds, like why you have these talking points on social media where black women are saying, hey, now I'm gonna date outside my race. And the truth of it is too that black men and black women marry each other at a 93% rate. Black women only marry out of the race at a single digit percentage. So black men have more marriage options, because of this, because black men can marry across the world. Like you don't see mixed kids in other countries that come from, black women. They're coming from black men.
Best looking kids, honestly. Let's just be
Munoz, what you got?
Mixed kids. Oh, I was just saying mixed kids are the best looking kids. I mean, let's just be honest. They are.
So you're saying Asian Indian kids, best looking.
They're pretty cute. They're pretty cute, but you can make a cute baby, not a cute adult. But no, man. It's crazy. I was laughing. It was hilarious. Theo Von's hilarious. Bill Burr's hilarious. Bill Burr's super funny. His wife is black, and you have money you can get. I mean, Bill Burr wasn't a comedian. I don't think he'd have that wife, but I think it's true, man. On personal experiences, all I could talk on. It is funny because
go ahead, get into it.
It is what it is. It's true. I mean, going back to Virgin 19 by choice, little nerds out there. It was hard, and I did date a couple of black girls, and I met a black girl, went over, which in the Rio Grande Valley is almost impossible to find. But I'm part Puerto Rican, so it counts. Somehow we bonded. But went into the house. I was 16, a little innocent, kind of innocent, still a virgin again. Walk into the house. The mom is like, if you're going to do something, go to the room. Breaking up weed. Her brother was all gangster tat. I was like, God dang. So it's intimidating because especially me as a virgin, I was like, man, she was nice, man. I hope this doesn't blow up in any way possible where my wife sees it. But yeah, it is intimidating. And then I was, like I said, John Watts, shout out. We had a good time at a barbecue. Vulcan's brother, we're in San Antonio. You guys are stuck in Houston. Girls are ugly out there. And
all right, Charles Barkley.
Yeah. So that being said, all that to say, your brother had mentioned some personal stuff, man. And of course, yes, it's intimidating, man.
So what about the?
I'll be like Gary Owens, that that white comedian, the one that's always talking about black jokes. I'm gonna say I got the most aggressive size D.
Since you brought that up, he mentioned that they've done condom size studies. Do y'all think
Blue
that
Chew
that's
slash
y'all think that
Munoz.
rumor is true? Is it false? Is it
What-
what's your thoughts on that, Munoz? And then we'll circle back around to Victor.
I'm sorry. I'm so trying to promote my Blue Chew because everything goes back to Blue Chew. What were you saying?
He mentions that they've done condom size studies. And so he's saying
Condom
it's,
size
so he's
studies.
saying the stereotype about black men. He's saying there's some truth to it.
You know what? I think that's got to be suck to be the short dick black dude. That would really suck.
It's a lot of
The
pressure, probably,
expectations,
right?
That's a lot of pressure.
lot
That's
of
a whole
pressure.
other topic. We'll say that for another day. Look,
No,
man,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
It goes all back. We're joking around with dick stuff, but it goes back to money. Women don't, especially if you're talking about black girls don't care about the size. I've seen so many. They got to care about the bag. Go to the gallery.
But do you think that it's true? Do you think that that rumor is probably?
It's 100% true. If I was a millionaire and have 3 black girls just like that, baddies all over.
Okay, what about Victor? What about you?
As far as the condom size study,
Yeah.
man, I don't really have nothing to say about that because.
Well, you're not promoted by Blue Chew. That's why.
Man, look, it's just some things I don't care about. You know what I'm saying? The last thing I need to be checking on is like, what's the most recent condom size stats? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't feel the need to even discuss that. I think there was more of a comedic satirical point, you know what I'm saying, in the discussion. It was necessary, I'd imagine, you know, for them to have that conversation because, like,
that plays a factor in the cultural dialogue.
For them, for sure. You know what I'm saying? On the outside looking in, but what's normal for everyone is relative, you know. And if you don't have any type of cultural experience, you're gonna do some research on who you're talking about, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Enos, what about you?
Enos, you gotta clip my shit, but honestly, dude, I can talk about this all the time. It's just scary, man.
Hold on,
I'm married with kids. I'm not in that studio. I'm at home.
Enos next.
You guys are.
Yeah.
My wife is like upstairs, which I mean, I can't. You guys want me to talk about this next time? Warn me, as I didn't know about we're talking about this. By the way,
all right, my God, John. So yeah. The I guess I didn't get the. I guess they're saying that was not that much of a difference. I think that's what he was saying. But
he said it is a difference, but it's not as much as you might think.
Okay.
I think right now the culture. I always go back to the culture, guys. The culture. You should talk about the
mute him.
Yeah. I mean, we gotta need.
Dang. Go ahead. I don't blame you.
Go ahead.
The culture. Are you done?
No, I'm just gonna say, whatever research. I mean, I haven't seen that, but I mean, that's probably. I think it's probably.
Ask AI. AI will tell you. I mean, whatever. But look,
my God. Yeah. Well, what's your thoughts on?
Who me?
Vulcan? Yeah.
Well, I think that there's definitely some truth to it. They've done all kind of different studies on this. You know, you see it. They do it by region. They've done it all kind of different kind of ways. So there's definitely some truth to it. I think it is important culturally because you see you talk about the intimidation. I've worked with white guys who have made that. We could be driving to a certain place and maybe driving for a couple of hours, and we see women on outside the vehicle, and I've had white guys go like, "Man, that's a little too thick for me. That's intimidating." And for whether it's really too thick for them or not, I think just that stereotype of that narrative is so strong culturally. All comedians talk about all the time, musicians talk about all the time, and so because of that, like, it's in everybody's mind. And as Munoz said, I don't think it's as significant or as important as people make it seem. But on the flip side of that, I've heard some stories. I've heard ladies basing a lot off of size. So, I mean, I have heard the other side of it as well, that it is important.
Let me say something real quick. And when you're done, all right. Size.
Go ahead.
This is my thing. Going back to because it's a long video, so it's kind of all over the place. But my whole thing is it's true what you say. It's a culture, right? Like, we all grew up with 90s rap. The videos, the music video was big booty bitches. That's it. So in the 70s.
You got.
Sorry.
You got
70s and 60s.
You can't wait for me to edit.
Look. Okay,
do it
I'm gonna do it again. So I forgot.
Right,
sorry. So 60s, 70s. You watch a Tom Cruise movie, right? Mm-hmm. The hot chick is flatboard back, so like maybe big stuff, coconuts. Can we say that?
Yeah.
So the whole point
memory
is
glands.
It's all about programming. So whatever you were watching growing up. So if I'm an 80s baby, so if I'm an 80s baby, what do you think we're watching in the 90s?
Well, hold on. Well, so that's a
we're
good
watching
point.
Rap. We're watching all hip hop videos.
Munoz, you think he's right about that? He says that part of the reason why he thinks he got that influence to find black women attractive to that extent, to even end up with one, he said was because of watching TV. You think that's possible?
Yeah,
it is. But if you go back,
he said BET specifically.
Yeah, BET specifically.
Yes, because if you're jerking off, again,
all right. Go ahead. Let's bring my man Victor here.
What the heck? I'm sorry. I don't know. It's a kid's show.
Mute him now. He is turned up. You know.
I'm just talking, bro. I don't know.
That's why you need to be muted, man. Like.
I think you muted yourself, you know. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
What's happening on that video is that they're explaining their attraction template based on their environment, how they're raised, you know what I'm saying, and what they're around. Like a lot of men choose women that reflect the women that's in their environment. You know, if you're around a lot of women all the time, you know what I'm saying, like because you got some guys that's not raised around men. So their perception of women and their attraction template is going to be based on the women that they're around. They're rarely going to get something outside of that unless they have been raised in a way that was toxic, that was dangerous. Because a lot of the guys that are black that wind up marrying outside the race, a lot of them attribute their attraction to someone outside the race as being different from the women that they were raised with, you know? So there's a disconnect in there somewhere. So it just like those guys was even explaining their attraction to black women. Imagine what they experienced with the women in their own family that were white.
Mm-hmm.
And then they probably get some kind of compatible safety with each other from an emotional level, because a lot of people are just unheard, you know, regardless of like whatever the format of the household is. If it produces children that are unheard, they're going to eventually get with somebody that'll listen to them, you know, and the first time that somebody listens to you, you're going to really understand that both of you don't have competing traumas. You know what I'm saying? And black people in general have a lot of competing traumas when they're raised in the same type of environments. Like when you think about black people, right, that are raised in, let's just say single parent homes for the sake of the conversation, it doesn't matter where you go. You can be in any zip code in a different state. Black people's lifestyle is similar if they're raised in a similar formatted home. If they come from a two-parent home, there's going to be some characteristics that are true, but the experiences are not going to be the same all the time, you know. But generally speaking, most people that come from that single-parent structure have competing traumas with each other. They don't typically work out unless they venture outside of their race. And then you have like the guy he raised in a Catholic environment, right? His mom was super Christian, this, that, and the other. So she was sexually repressive towards him. You know, the only reason he was able to look at BET because his mama didn't know about it. And so once he had that imagery and he was actually getting some sort of entertainment, you know, from it, and it was agreeing with him or sparking his mind to think about women in a certain type of way, he knew what he could go look at. You know what I'm saying? So I think that imagery plays a very, very big role in that. And especially when psychologically we use that as the reason why we want black representation in certain film and certain roles.
All right, let me go ahead, and since we're on the topic of, you know, women being we say black people is more experienced or intimate.
Hey, it depends on the environment.
Topic, we're gonna talk about body count.
Oh man, I hate these conversations right now.
Body count. Let me get y'all thoughts on this.
I think asking me my body count is the quickest way to talk yourself off some coochie, because I absolutely am not giving it to you after you ask it. And this weird obsession with having a low number doesn't make sense to me, because like I said before, at the end of the day, do you want a surgeon who's only done one surgery? Nope. No, you don't. You want a surgeon with experience, yes or no? So when you ask these women what's their body count, you're looking for someone who has a low one, and then all you're going to do is run back and tell your homies about how she can't suck dick, how she can't arch her back, how she can't do X, Y, and Z. Why? When you can have a woman who knows what she's doing is going to be able to please you. So can we stop this whole weird obsession with the low body count? It's not real. It's not sustainable. You don't really want that.
Well,
all right.
I'll lead off with this.
Let me just ask the question. We'll set it up for y'all. Does a woman's body count matter? Go ahead, Victor.
I think behavior matters more than body count. I would say, and I'll say this also. Most guys bring up body count because they don't know how to talk to women. And like, let's be adults. Like, I understand the body count conversation if you're under the age of 20 and 25, you know, but like once you hit like 35, 40, a lot of this stuff starts going out the window and it becomes very childish. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just keeping it 1,000. Yeah, ideally, do you want a woman, or does a man want a woman that he can say nobody else touched? Absolutely. Is that likely? Probably not. Do you want to be in a relationship? Yes, you do. So that means you have to adjust your expectations with what you want and pick from that. Now, if you don't like your options,
we're gonna get everybody in because the question was, does body count matter? But
understood.
We're gonna get back. All right, let me bring John in. Does a woman's body count matter?
Hold on. Accountable masculinity. I'm trying to figure out what that is. Are you like a red pill dude? I'm trying to define so I know if I can debate or not, because I make it fun.
Oh no, I'm not a red pill dude. I'm a gold pill dude.
Gold pill. No,
yep, I got my own brand.
Accountable to men or accountable to women?
I'm accountable to men.
Oh God, okay. I definitely don't want to debate you. But anyway, we'll do this for another time. But I'm actually freestyle. I just jumped on. But
does a woman?
What?
Let's get back.
Okay, back to men. Back to men. Men get better. Women get worse. Kevin Samuels, the best one of all. I'm gonna ask you, Victor, a question.
Hold on, answer the question.
Answer the question first.
Let me talk. What gets woman for women, of course, or anything? We don't have to do women. What gets better? What increases in value with time and use?
Leather and cast iron skillets.
That's actually a pretty good one. Cast
iron, I know,
because I do steaks. But just pussy?
No, of course not. I mean,
okay, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not.
But it's dick.
Whoa, what's going on?
I mean, bro, I'm sorry.
All right, let's bring Vulcan in here. Movie as a timeout. Hey, do a woman body count matters? Vulcan,
does a woman's body count matters? Yeah. Yes, it does. Now, what does it matter for is probably the better question, but in general, yes, it does matter. Are we getting into the why yet, or you wanted to go circle back around?
Victor, this keep it concise because you already started off with your why, so keep it concise, maybe a few minutes, and we're gonna get everybody back in again in this dialogue. So finish. Oh,
okay.
Get a couple minutes. Yeah.
So women's body count matters for sure, but not for the same reasons that men think it matters. It matters from a health and a psychological mindset. And I think that that's what men care about. You know, if they've had enough experience with women, they can tell the difference in the behavior. That's what I was talking about before. The experience part, I get that as well. You know, now nobody's telling you to go to the latest smut factory to go try to pick a wife. Nobody's telling you to do that. What we are saying is that you need to have the your vetting criteria needs to be based on something that's tangible and realistic. You know what I'm saying? When you're choosing a significant other. So the experience spectrum for women is definitely very fragile because you can experience too many people and not be psychologically worth being in a relationship with.
Okay. All right. Let me bring go ahead, John. Let's try this again, man. Let's try this again.
This is where we're gonna divide ourselves and make it fun. But honestly, I'm sorry about all this stuff. But look, you go back to men and women. Again, men are definitely nature to be polygamous, right? Over women. Would you agree with that, Victor? Well, you have Victor muted.
Victor, you muted. Go ahead.
Do I think that men are meant to be polygamous over women?
By nature, over women.
Oh, yeah, biologically, that's the argument.
Biologically, 100%, right?
Yep.
So that being said, your stance kind of is not in line with that. but with biology, just generally speaking, obviously we're going to argue about morally and all that. But as men, it's a big difference when you cheat than a woman, because again, a guy can keep having kids for a long time, and we can impregnate a bunch of women at one time. But women only have one child at one time. So that just tells me that the more hoish you are as a woman with body count, you always got to have women time. To me, it's like times 10.
Yeah, I don't have an argument against that, because like the whole point in having being a logical thinking human being is to have dominion over your biology too. So that's what separates us from animals.
100%.
So that, like, I actually put a clip up with Tiffany Haddish. She's about 2 minutes and 30 seconds long that talks about body count. So women that have more than 2 baby daddies or 1 or 2, she's speaking on this, and she can explain it.
So then what the heck is argument? I'm confused.
So there is no
holding men accountable. Women need to be held accountable.
Well, women are held accountable by their children and their lack of options. That's it.
Hold on. What state are you at again?
Say that again. I didn't understand.
What state are you at?
Oh, I live in Texas.
So you know about child support laws? You tell me that is a come on, bro.
No. What is your definition of being held accountable? Because I got a different definition.
If a guy decides to leave a relationship, he has to be child supported, but a woman.
So you're talking about legal accountability.
Benefits?
You're talking about legal accountability, right? I'm talking about accountability. I'm talking about
jail.
You're talking about legal accountability. When I talk about accountability, I'm talking about a lack of options just in general. Like you don't get a chance.
No, they got all the rewards.
Let me finish. When I say accountability, I'm talking about your lack of access to opportunity in life. Yeah, we know like what men endure is consequences for poor sexual behavior. You know what I'm saying? Women get rewarded when a man makes bad sexual choices. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just attacking your name, not yourself, by the way.
But let me finish.
The name, that's all.
What I'm saying is that women are only held accountable by their lack of options in relationship choices and the children that they raise. Because until a woman decides that she wants better and doesn't change her behavior, nothing matters. Because you don't have to go.
What do you mean by lack of options? What options do they lack?
When I say lack of options,
in Texas, though.
No, here. So when I say lack of options, right? A woman can show up with 6 kids by 6 different men and still say she want a high six-figure.
I buy her food stamps easily. She makes like 2 G's food stamps a month. I buy her for 50% off.
So that's the point right there. See, the dudes that can't control their meat, they keep giving these women options.
All right,
that's on her. Right. She's the one getting impregnated.
Hold on, John.
Different dudes. What the hell?
Hold on, John. Let's bring Vulcan in here. You haven't explained why women body counts matter. Vulcan, I want you to explain your why.
So the reason why they matter, the studies suggest, is that once a woman has gotten past a certain number of body count, it's low, like between 0 to 5. After they notice a reduction in her happiness in a marriage. And so there's a definite correlation between her happiness, her fulfillment in relationship, and her body count. That's just what the studies show. Biologically, women have a bonding hormone that's produced that affects their ability to be able to bond to whoever they're with. And so for women, they were never meant to be having these high body counts. It's not good for their body. It's not good for their mind. And it's not good for their overall happiness and well-being once they find somebody that they can maybe be with. You hear women tell these stories, and a lot of the scientists that are involved in this particular field of study, whether it's evolutionary biologists who are looking for, evolutionary reasons for why women and men mate select, and all those different kind of things, hypergamy, all the different aspects that they go into within that science. What they realize is that as these ladies are engaging in more promiscuous activity, it shows on the other side of that. Once they get what they think that when they get with the guy, they're not as happy because they're comparing. They're comparing that guy. There's probably 20, 30, 40 attributes that a person can have, and that pass through your mind over time as you're thinking about somebody. And whenever that person is not matching up to somebody else for whatever the reason is, they're not able to be as content.
Wow.
And so it affects their psychology. It matters the most to them, but it also matters to the man as well, because men are hardwired to want to ensure paternity, and you can't ensure paternity when you have a lady who's more promiscuous. There's all these studies coming out, all these articles coming out about wanting to do a DNA test at conception, because so many men now are realizing they're not even the father of the children they've been parenting. And a lot of that is linked to more sexually promiscuous women. So that's the main reason why I do agree with Victor when he says the behavior is more of an issue than the body count itself. That's definitely true. It's just that some of that behavior, we see the behavior, we don't know if it's a symptom of this or that. What some of the studies show, it's a symptom of them having bonded too many different men.
It's a mental illness. I've been saying it. It's the first time we've been on it.
Is it semen demon?
Man, all right. So let me ask you this then: does a man's body count matter, man? Let's go. Let's start off with John. Does a man body count?
Of course. I'm over here. Y'all can clip me up. It's just sound like I hate women. I'm talking shit. Look, stuff. Yes, of course it matters. Of course it matters. What are you talking about? Our actions matter. It's supposed to be according to what I believe as a Christian. The New Testament is one man, one woman is when it's okay underneath God's right, of course, to have that, but everything outside of that. But I'm the minority. But the reality is, even if you don't believe that, do you think you're having a bunch of sex? Yeah, the standards could be high or low. At the end of the day, you're expert. You know, you expire eventually. If you're a 4-year-old girl, you got all this, you got ran through. You're gonna settle with a dude. You're gonna settle with a dude with money. Then he might lacking something else. But yeah, I do think it's actually let's call semen demon. Look it up, guys. Semen demon.
Gotcha. Victor, does a man body count matters?
It absolutely does, because the purposeless man doesn't care about the same thing that the purposeful man does. The man with a purpose doesn't prioritize sex the same way the purposeless man does, because it is truthfully, we pedestalize sex so much, sexual proficiency amongst men, that it's really a huge distraction. It's really witchcraft to be out here making, sexual connection with a bunch of different women that you don't really value like that, because you only laying down with your equal. So if you ain't on anything, if you're purposeless, you're laying down with purposeless women.
When you're saying that, I'm thinking about guys that's online, like the Andrew Tates of the world, that to a certain degree, or even the red pill community, they do prioritize women, and these men will be considered purposeful men. What do you say to that?
It's rhetoric.
More successful men are duped.
Let me tell you, men that can get what they want don't talk about what they don't want.
Men that get what they want, they don't talk about what they don't want.
If you can get what you want, right, then you don't waste time talking about things you don't want.
What if you see these guys, they are encouraging or motivating guys to get them the level they are. So that's why they talk about what they can get.
Well, because they
grade themselves on very low levels, because they know that it's really easy they know it's really easy to inspire men that can't get attention from women that they actually want. So like the red pill community, by and large on social media, is no different than the feminist community. They all center their conversation on the very thing that they don't want. The feminists talk about men, and the red pill dudes talk about women. And they say that they don't like the very topic of their conversation, but they're in each other's inboxes all the time. You still got feminists that's single mothers that say, I hate the patriarchy, but they pregnant. And then you got dudes that say, I hate this type of woman, but they got multiple baby mamas. So they all hypocrites in that regard.
Let's bring Vulcan in here. Do a man's body count matter?
Does man's body count matter? I would say that it definitely matters in multiple ways, different than a woman. There hasn't been a direct correlation between his overall happiness and his body and his body count. So that part hasn't really been demonstrated. But one thing you can say for sure, when it comes out, if you're a man out here trying to find a woman, trying to find a wife or girlfriend, whatever you want to say, women don't like men who are less experienced than they are in that area, or pretty much most areas, whether it's traveling, whether it's in whatever type of occupation they're involved in. They want somebody who's more experienced that they can admire and look up to. Unfortunately, if you're that guy who's not as experienced sexually, it's going to come out in the way you interact. You're going to come across, in sales we call it commission breath. If you have you're so focused on getting that sale, and people can tell that sale is brand new to you, and you don't have a lot of experience with success when it comes to getting a sale, and you just come across really desperate. They call that commission breath. Same thing when it comes to dealing with women. If you have a guy who's overly pedestalizing her, or he comes across, if he's inexperienced, or he's kind of fumbling over his words and stumbling over himself, all those in the ladies' attraction template is going to be going in the opposite direction for him. He's losing attraction. She's losing attraction to him. So I would say that, unfortunately, if a man's less experienced sexually, it typically means that the ladies are going to find him less attractive. Some of that comes out in behavior. You can coach a man to not give off that impression, but just a natural run-of-the-mill person is going to give off the impression that he's less experienced because he in fact is less experienced, and that's pretty much a turnoff. Ladies tend to like guys who, and they even show this with monkeys. They'll take a monkey and they'll put them in a certain place, and if they put other female monkeys with them, the other female monkeys are more willing to mate with him. But if he's just kind of a lone monkey, they're not going to mess with him too much. And it's very similar with humans. Women tend to want to be around guys who are more comfortable. They already understand how the feminine operates, even though a lot of it's superficial. Even a lot of it's the guy's doing it because it's self-serving to get what he wants. They feel more comfortable in that, so they'll give him what he wants as long as they're getting what they want. So I would say that it can adversely affect a man if his body count is too low. If he's dealing with, and by too low, it could be just maybe been with three or four people, 5 people, or whatever the case may be, and this lady's at 15 in her 30s, 20 in her 30s, 30 in her 30s, and she's not going to want to deal with a guy who's less experienced than her, and it'll show. So that's what I'll say for that.
All right.
There's a video. Play that video. Tiffany Haddish is talking directly about body count. I got it in.
I just seen that. Did you send that to me?
Yeah, I sent that to you. Put it up there.
Okay, hold on. One more video after this.
Yep. But this deals directly with the body count conversation from a woman's perspective. So let's see what she says.
Yeah, she says something. That was interesting.
Yep.
All right, but anything else you want to add to?
Go ahead and play the video. He talking offline anyway.
Nice. Nah, I didn't get that. All right, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play the next video. We have some time. I can't find that video on the messages. Send it if you got it. Send it to me.
It should be queued up like down in the bottom of your screen, where you see where it says share screen next to present. You're in the show. All you have to do is add it to the stage.
Yeah, but I didn't get. It's not in my messages though.
It wouldn't be in your messages. It's on the StreamYard screen that you're looking at.
Oh, okay.
Look down there, right below it.
We're gonna edit this stuff, so we're off camera. Victor, we got a debate, brother, because I already can tell you're not. You gotta be all in on the men with the child support stuff, bro. Like if
well.
Unless I'm wrong, I don't want to judge you on your name.
You're wrong.
Masculinity to me, I like the name, but it's also like, what do you mean?
You don't know enough about my brand.
Exactly, you're right. And I thought about it.
That's why you got to chill, because I'm on your side. You don't even know it yet.
It's just fun. It's entertaining, baby.
Yeah, it's
cool. Entertainment.
Yeah, you see it down on the bottom. It says
Vulcan. Big pun.
Big
pun. Freaking Vulcan.
All right, so just what I'm saying, I don't have the video at all. You have to send it to me.
I'm telling you, it's already loaded in StreamYard.
Oh, that's why. Okay, I didn't hear you say that.
Go to StreamYard and look at your main screen at the bottom. You'll see where it says present, and it has a video queued up.
Okay,
and you just add it to the stage.
I got you. All right, here we
And
go.
here's my theory, and I could be completely wrong, and the internet probably gonna destroy me for this, but I think women that have more than 2 baby daddies usually have some sort of mental illness.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, because you're getting genetically modified too much. I think, okay, so this is what I know. Every time you get pregnant, right, there's stem cells that come from that baby, and them stem cells end up behind your eyes and your brain and your heart and your lungs and stuff and help your organs heal while the baby taken from you. And those stem cells will always stay with you, right? So that means that man is always in you. And that is why, the Bible says you will only desire your husband. Correct. This is why you gotta use condoms, because that baby better get up inside you, and the uterus is very porous, much like the mouth, right? So when anything goes up in there, it automatically the uterus starts to absorb it. It starts going through the vaginal walls and all that, and the blood it gets into the bloodstream, right? And so it takes
get in there.
So it takes like 6 weeks to get a man out of your system if you have unprotected sex, and it's because he's starting to bind to your DNA, right? And that's why it's couples when they be together too long, they start looking alike. You start looking like him.
Wow.
Like it's not the guy don't start looking like her. She start looking like him because he is genetically modifying her. And every time you get pregnant by him, you start to get modified, right? So if you get pregnant by multiple peoples, right, that's multiple spirits, multiple thoughts, multiple modifications from a different DNA strain to have mental stress. So it's very evident. Like what I'm saying is very evident. It makes sense because like you got all these dating apps, all these women like free sex, free this, whatever, I'm doing money, I'm living it, I'm exerting my sexuality and all this, and I don't care if I got 5 kids or 5 baby daddies, whatever. Usually those bitches are mentally, they're struggling in so many different ways, not just financially, but also just like on where to focus, how to whatever, because you got too many different bloodlines in your blood.
Too many kids. I mean,
you have mental illness. So that was my theory on sperm.
That makes sense. That's very
and that's why you can't use condoms, ladies. That's why you have to use condoms. We cannot genetically modify men. Now,
all right.
I'm gonna say one thing is I had ADD, guys. Let me focus real quick. One thing, and I'll let y'all go on. She had a good point. There's a whole bunch of stuff to unpackage. The only one thing I'm gonna say, and I actually took notes. Looks like him. You know what's crazy? They say that y'all look like each other. You ever heard that? The couples look like each other, right? You look like your pet. She was saying genetics because genetics being shoot into you. I'm trying to do code words so I don't get muted by Enos. But when you have multiple men, her argument was the genetics will be shot into her, so she looks like him. No. What it is if you have a husband and wife and you guys, the woman will automatically just kind of, if it's the right order, of course, will automatically just kind of blend to become the man or whatever. So what happens is you all have the same type of attitude, personality. You all have the same
mannerisms,
facial expressions.
Yeah.
So if I'm always smiling, she's always smiling. If it's in the perfect good marriage, right? And so what happens is they look like each other because of facial expressions, not by getting genetics shot up through all these people. And I mean, but yeah, that's one comment I wanted to make. That was
but I want to narrow it down to a question so everybody. She said anybody that has more than 2 different baby daddies, she thinks that's a mental illness. Give me just a few minutes. What's your thoughts on that? In a few minutes, agree or disagree, and explain why in a few minutes.
Well, because shame on me, twice. Oh, so one shame on you, twice shame on me. That's the saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see that viral video of that dude? They call him the turtle guy. Where they pop the balloon, he goes, or he goes something like, "How many kids you got?" "I got 1 with 1 kid." And they say 2. They say, "The first one, I give you. We all give you the first one. Mm-hmm. The second one, that's on you, baby."
That's on you. All right, let me bring Victor on here, and we're gonna close it out.
Is that coconut water, by the way?
Go ahead and chime in as far as the mental illness, having more than 2 baby dads, or whatever else you want to add to it.
Man,
a few minutes.
What's interesting is that when I wrote my 3rd book, I was already observing this behavior a long time ago. See, behavior is always observed when it's something positive. You got 2 relatives in your family that probably laugh the same way. The mother and the daughter that laugh the same way. You got sons that do exactly what their dads do or whatever they've been around. And then it's a neurological misfire when you got the absence of a parent, and then the imprint of the mother's behavior on the son looks different, than it does when it's on just the daughter. The daughter comes out to be just like the mother. No way, shape, like there's no skips in it. In fact, like and Yala Vincent Fix My Life, she did a spot with what's her name? Lisa Ray, her daughter, and her mother, and all of them are the same, because in the absence of a man's presence to be a division in there, women are just ultra competitive for no reason, for unhealthy reasons. But you don't see that the same way when you got a man that's raising his sons. Like they all get on the same sheet of music. The man is the balance point in this situation. So when you start seeing people that get produced in observable nature, just like what Tiffany Haddish was describing, and we've all seen this, just like those Pop the Balloon show, those are social engineering experiments to show you that criteria holds, is what I mean by that's how women get held accountable. After they've had their kids and the men decide that, oh, no, I'm not going to be with you or not, you got less options for dating. You got less of everything. You might get a whole bunch of government assistance, but you've basically decided that you want the government to be your spouse.
All right, let's go ahead and bring Vulcan. Any thoughts or what Tiffany Haddish said, or any agreement with John and Victor on what they expressed as far as the Tiffany Haddish video?
No, I think everybody brought up some really good points. No, I don't have any contentions with what they said.
Okay. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go on to the next topic. This open-mindedness, being open-minded. I want to get y'all thoughts, and we can close the show with this video. All right, here we go.
Minded is when you can look at another person. I think being open-minded is when you can look at another person's perspective, another person's belief, another person's way of living, understanding that you don't have to adopt it, you don't have to agree with it, but being open enough to at least not put down or dismiss that perspective because it's unlike yours. You don't necessarily see yours as being right and someone else is being wrong. You see it as it's just different. You can listen to somebody else's perspective and their way of life and try to gain a level of maybe not even understanding, but just gain a level of reasoning behind why they choose that particular perspective, and understand that it's okay even if it's not your own. Or give me your definition of what I think being open-minded is when you can look at another.
That's the end of it right there.
Another person's belief, another person's way of living, understanding that you don't have.
All right, fellas. Yeah, so question I want to ask y'all. Is it a moral responsibility to be open-minded? Is it a moral responsibility to be open-minded? Let's go with Victor.
Yes. If you're
How about we do this? And I'm sorry, I want to cut you off. Let's just do yes or no.
Yes or no. Yes.
Back.
Yes.
So you say yes, Victor. What's up, John?
Yes.
Oh, yes. All right. Let's Vulcan.
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead, Victor. Explain why.
Men are meant to be leaders in society. We get held accountable for everything. You know what I'm saying? We go to jail for stuff we didn't do and things that, we probably shouldn't have gone to jail for. I
want to say I apologize.
Let me finish. Let me finish, please. So the spectrum of why a man should be accountable in society is because it keeps your family safe. Like if you don't have any morality in you, your neighbors won't have any morality, and then so it makes it hard to protect your children, the people that you're responsible for. Because if you're condoning, a certain behavior by being passive about it, eventually that same behavior is going to come to your doorstep. So that's why it's very important to distinguish an opponent from an enemy. It's very important to distinguish being objective versus subjective. You have to leave room to have your opinions changed with new information. And this is why, like, I have rule number 3 written in my book about decentralized leadership, knowing when to lead and when to follow. There's a time and a place for everybody to speak. And if you don't give the people the floor to speak their mind, then you can't be shocked when you don't get the floor to speak either. Being like men, nobody's more interrupted than men. Nobody
Okay. All
is
right.
more interrupted than men.
Before we get into that, how about let's slow it down, because for the audience, I don't think we actually define what open-minded is. How would you? Let's start with you, Victor. Let's just start with that first instead of the question asked.
Okay.
What does open-minded? What does that mean? What does open-minded mean?
Like, how you want to know how we would define open-mindedness?
Yeah.
That's why I just said leave room to have your opinions changed with new information. That's being
Okay.
open-minded.
All right, let's bring John here. John.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you muted me because that's what you've been doing this whole podcast. To me, it's critical thinking. A critical thinker. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so how are you a critical thinker? What makes you a critical thinker? Public school does not make you a critical thinker. Government indoctrination camps. Who went to public school, went to private school, who went to homeschool? Anybody here?
No.
Public school.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
Public school, government indoctrination camps. Right.
So you said critical thinking.
I'm sure you agree with me, by the way. I'm not here to be combative. Go ahead. What were you saying, Eon?
No, I got you. You said that critical thinking. That's the answer.
Critical thinking, and this is where I hit home. And James knows because he homeschools
Hold on,
his
let
kids.
me bring Vulcan in because I want Vulcan to define.
Guys, what the hell? See, you're like
what?
the censor guy. You're like the freaking guy.
I'm like, who?
Man, okay. What do you want me to say now?
I'm gonna ask you the question. I'm gonna just get Vulcan. I want Vulcan to answer, and then I'm gonna ask you.
Go ahead.
He's going around and he's coming back.
I'm not gonna remember.
Then you can cook.
I'm not.
All right, go ahead, Vulcan.
What's the question?
What does it mean to be open-minded?
For me, open-mindedness, and first I'll address what the guy said in the video, because I don't like people using the terms in the definition. So he said open-mindedness, he's defining it, but he used the word open later on. And I would wish he would have found a different kind of word, because I would have helped for me to really understand what his definition of open-mindedness. But to me, open-mindedness is a certain intellectual posture that you put yourself into where you leave yourself open for other lines of reasoning on things that you may or may not have already resolved within yourself. Topics you may or may not resolved. I'm open to the other types of reasoning. What it doesn't mean is just open to other types of conclusions, but open to other types of reasoning for sure. So if somebody said, hey, look, you gotta be open-minded the fact that this could be the case right here. Okay, why could this be the case? I'm open to valid reason. So I would say that's what I would say is that I'm willing to explore valid reasoning. I'm willing to explore it. I'm willing to hear people out. That's what I would say was the open part. And the mindedness, obviously, just in your mind. I'm willing to think about things outside of my normal line of thinking. I'm willing to explore other ideas outside of the ideas that I already have. And I think you haven't got to the part about the moral part, so I guess I'll save that part.
Yeah, because Victor already answered that, so we can go ahead and go with John. Is there more responsibility to be open-minded? You're muted. I didn't mute you.
Oh, okay. So my bad. I'm muting myself. So my responsibility, open-minded. Again, it goes back to critical thinking. The government indoctrination camps. You went to public school. You're indoctrinated. You're not. You're taught to be a worker. And basically, homeschool is pretty great. Private school, whatever. It doesn't matter. Teach your kids to be critical thinkers. Question everything. Everything's a lie. The moon landings are fake, for sure. Vaccines aren't good. And don't grape anybody. Graping is wrong. Don't grape anybody. Grape.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
I'm against graping.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Yes,
let's get to Vulcan about is there more responsibility to be open-minded?
There's definitely a moral responsibility to being open-minded for a number of reasons. You see this play out when it comes to what happened during chattel slavery. They were having debate about whether or not certain people were human beings. You have to be open to that kind of a thing. Sometimes you make mistakes, whether it's with parenting, whether occupationally, and somebody may come to you and say, look, there's a better way to look at this. We're not seeing this the right way. And if you're being obstinate, or being stiff-necked, the scripture that says that if you're a man who is stiff-necked will soon be broken beyond remedy. And so there's a real reality that it's on us to embark on that journey of making sure that we're always in line with truth and always seeking truth. What's the most accurate way? What's the most moral way that we can be? Because when you're on that type of quest, then people can trust you and take you seriously. But when you're closed-minded off to new ideas and new ways of exploring things, what's happening is that you could be impeding justice. You could be impeding what's right and what's truth. And then you might find yourself on the other side of the situation where you're an enemy to those that you don't even mean to be an enemy to. That happens with, again, in homes, it happens at schools, it happens in the military, whatever the case may be. You always got to be looking forward to other ways of getting things accomplished, because at the end of the day, whenever you're saying, I'm going to stop right here, I'm going to stop exploring here, when you go to appeal to somebody else on something that's important to you, what happens when they go, I'm not open to that, I don't care? Then what do? It's over. The conversation's over. Romans 12 commands Christians to be reasonable. The scientific method requires peer review, test of falsifiability, certain open-mindedness in that way, having a hypothesis and starting to test your hypothesis.
What's that verse again?
I was talking about the scientific method. Or you talking about the
whatever, like Romans something?
Well, the scripture that says in Proverbs, the man who presents his case first.
What's the verse in chapter?
Seems right until another person comes across.
Oh, that's one. Yeah. We talked about that one. Okay.
Yeah. So there's ones that talk about a certain open-mindedness, people criticizing you. And so I mentioned that as far as the scriptures, but then you go into scientific method, there's peer review. I can have a hypothesis that I've been testing, and then I write a journal about it, and then Victor and you can take it to task and start to try to experiment yourself.
Again, Cedric the Entertainer and I, we love each other. I thought he was a feminist dude. I thought, James, you set me up to fight this guy for ratings. I'm sorry. We're on the same side, bro. He's not for the.
Did you call me Cedric the Entertainer?
You kind of look like him, dog.
Well, you kind of look like an overweight white woman.
I look like Jonah. Look, that's hilarious. Look,
you gotta chill.
I'll give you ammunition, bro, because I have to make fun of myself. My friends will say I look like Jonah.
Don't put me on your low self-esteem behavior.
Yo, what the hell?
You talking about you got to make fun of yourself? I don't make fun of myself.
No, well, why not? That's funny.
No,
you gotta be secure. You gotta take a joke, bro. You don't never grow seeing each other.
Man, I'm 46 years old, man. I don't.
Damn.
I don't play games I can't win.
I'm 48.
Hey, look, you 48. You don't look very confident when you said that.
I have alkaline. I don't look good for 48.
I told you like an overweight white woman.
Are you trying to date me? You attracted to me or what, bro? I mean, do you want a white woman, a snow bunny? What's going on?
Well, so Vulcan
I don't know. I'm
already
just going
answered.
along with the flow. I don't know what's going on. It's fun times.
Yeah, Vulcan already answered this. Let's go ahead and start with Victor. How do you improve your area in open-mindedness?
You say you improve your area what?
Area of open-mindedness. I'm sorry. How do you improve in the area of open-mindedness?
I think you have to be open to being challenged, and you have to be willing to scrap to prove your point too. But you have to fight the right fights in order for it to matter. I'm all about conflict and conflict resolution. You can't be about conflict resolution if you're not willing to get your hands dirty. And so I think it's important, like for a man to live a life of service, because nobody picks up the phone and calls a useless man. So you have to have some scars, but they can't wound you. You feel me? Like you got to have some scars that you could talk and speak a lesson off of. But if you're still wounded, you're gonna operate with a closed mind. You're gonna operate with a closed mind that's gonna lead other people to destruction. Like when you were talking about when James was Vulcan was mentioning being closed-minded and how it can flip back on you. Eventually, if you study military operations or even just governments that's been overthrown, it was always a repressive government that led to some level of revolution. That's where the United States came from from religious oppression, where, you know, like the original Pilgrims say, hey, forget the queen, we finna, you know, we finna bounce going over to the West, and we're gonna, you know what I'm saying, resettle, and we're not gonna thrive underneath religious oppression. But what's crazy about that, though, is still what it came to, because that's the brain that was there. They knew that there was order, structure, and discipline in that. But they wrote the Constitution with a lot of provision, you know what I'm saying, that gave some leeway here and there, because they knew what they came from. Now, it was the first attempt, may not have been the greatest, but they did it, you know, and that was because they knew that there was a hard line that they couldn't pass, and they were not being considered. There was a lack of empathy, understanding for whatever that time was. But that a lack of objectivity is what's going to always keep you from getting to the next level or something.
All right, let's I like that. Let's bring in Vulcan. Let's bring Vulcan to how do you improve in the area of open-mindedness?
I think both of them said it really well. You got to definitely study critical thinking. So I would say I would break it into two parts. There's a character element of it, and I guess I'll go to that part first. There's a certain humility you have to even be open in general and have that for open-mindedness. Part of it is understanding you don't not having a not estimating yourself more highly than you ought to estimate yourself. Some people walk around, they say things all the time like, I don't have to look into that already because of who's saying it. Just genetic fallacy. They disqualify something just because of who's the person who said it. A lot of it's a certain mindset and a certain heart where you disqualify people based off your own biases. You got to learn how to weed out your own biases on things. Find ways to be able to see your own blind spots. Like in vehicles, they have special mirrors that help you see your blind spots. You have a special mirror in your life to be able to see your blind spots. And so I think part of it is a character
I
thing.
gotta roll, guys. Peace.
All right, my man. Appreciate you coming on. So some of it is understanding, okay, my heart, my characters be right. It's gonna be trying, it's gonna be tough at times when I'm interacting with people who have different views than I have. I may not want to hear what they have to say before I've heard what they have to say. And so that takes a discipline to Victor's point to be able to even endure that part. So that's on the moral character side of it. There's a certain openness, certain humility. And then other side of it is gaining the tools to decipher the information and to also the tools to weed out your own biases, the skill sets you need to understand what a confirmation bias is, what a reference group bias is. If I know those things, then I can look inside of myself or hear my ideas and go, okay, am I believing this because it's what I already want to believe? Have I even looked into what the other side is saying? Because you may find that you're just going with your dogma. And if that's the case, if that's where that's where the buck stops for you as far as learning, at least be honest with yourself about that. So if you're in debate with somebody and they're going beyond your dogma, beyond what you went into, then you're out of your depth and you got to just own that. Instead of trying to go back and forth with them and just looking more ignorant and more obtuse than you need to act. So I'd say there's the moral element, and there's also the intellectual element, learning epistemology. That's the study of how do we know what we know. So when I'm talking with somebody, whether it's about history, about science, whether it's about sports, there's always a science involved. Victor points that out really well. There's always a science to everything that we do. Science, knowledge. There's a way of ascertaining which one is closer to truth, which one is truth, depending upon what the question is. And if you don't know that, you're walking into that room, you're walking into that discipline severely underdeveloped.
Yeah.
And so you can't even participate in those types of conversations in a way that's going to be fruitful for yourself or anybody else that would be around. So I would just say those are the two: learn the science of thinking, critical thinking, logic, philosophy, epistemology. Those things are going to be real helpful. Then the flip side of that, working on your character. Can I listen and understand? Those are, and I would say that's even more difficult than the X's and O's involved with open
Well,
mindedness.
that's why I disagree with his definition of open-mindedness, because he said he approached the conversation while taking a stance on what's right and wrong. And you can't reason without beliefs. Like, it requires a premise. You have to have a premise. So like, okay, this is why I believe this. This is why I don't believe that. If you approach it like, I don't know who's right or wrong, that's you avoiding the responsibility of being wrong.
I think there's a point. I hear people say that all the time. People get caught up in the emotional side of it versus what's actually happening. Whether or not I have a right or wrong, or I think he's right or wrong, I can listen to, so I can listen to Victor and think, I think he's wrong about that. That doesn't mean I'm not going to fully hear him out, his premises, his conclusions. We can still do everything we would normally do while I'm still thinking he's wrong. And then in the midst of that, I could be persuaded otherwise. But if you're not even labeling things right or wrong, where you start, you have nowhere to start from.
Yeah, because your brain naturally forms working models already. So
what are we talking about? Yeah,
like certain positions, you can become like paralyzed and indecisive. And within that conversation, that becomes like self-defeating itself. So that disables your critical thinking, decision making. So that's why he sounds like, and then like you say, he ended it off with open-mindedness, but technically that's not being open-minded.
Yeah, because he said right or wrong. He said not looking at things as right or wrong, but just different. And I was like, no, it's okay to look at things as right or wrong, because then it helps us to find where our focus should be. We're going to focus on, well, two things, but we need one to get to we got to focus on what we agree on so we can use it to get to what we disagree on. And that's
you escape error by suspending judgment. So you're not even going to be able to recognize error because you already suspended judgment. Like, oh, I'm not going to say yeah or nay. You get what I'm saying? So you're not even approaching it intellectually virtuous. You're not approaching it in a virtuous manner in an intellectual way. So you suspend the judgment, you're not going to notice the error.
You know what you guys just defined? A master manipulator.
Yeah.
Leave everything open-ended. It has false boundaries. It sounds like it's cool, kind of like when you was talking about the difference between people that follow God versus people that decide to describe themselves as a Christian. Both believe in God, but one has a more rigid construct than the other. A lot of people that think that way are women, the same way that you just described, all of this being open-minded and everything else. But I'm listening to it, and what kind of critical decisions can you make when you're thinking like that? A lot of people, you see what I'm saying? Like, I think of things in life or death, because right or wrong is always subjective. But death is death.
You said right or wrong is always subjective?
Yeah, because people can always decide what's right and what's wrong. They can argue that. Just like
you say how people interpret right.
Yeah.
You tell me what you're saying.
So people's morals determine what they want to hold and prioritize. You know what I'm saying? It's right and wrong. Like, you might prioritize something completely different than me, but if you prioritize my version of wrong lower than what your version of right is, I'm going to be offended. And then I have a decision to make. Do I need to still be connected to, what I'm saying, you in that regard? And like Vulcan was saying, like, you might listen to somebody that might be all the way wrong, but you hear them all the way out, So what the lesson is that if you respect that person more than you care about their premise on a particular subject, then you have to make a decision on whether or not you want to discuss that subject with that particular individual at all, because it's like politics, right? We do it with politics, we do it with religion, we do it with everything. It's just a matter of, like, when you prioritize something differently than the other person, but you don't get offended and they do, understand that there's a degree of animosity that's going to come with that, because not everybody's going to be able to process your difference of opinion the same way.
If you have an opinion, that's why I disagree with the video, because
I disagree with the video too.
If you're not taking a stance, you deny like the right and wrong. You appear to be open, but
it's manipulative. That's why I said it doesn't have it, in our opinion, and I think we collectively agree that at some point you're gonna have to choose a side. If you know at some point you're gonna have to choose a side, then choose it now.
Yeah.
Like if we have to, if our destination to get to where we want is in the West, meaning we have to walk 30 feet, right? We can't have our feet pointed east and start walking in the east and then think that the West is going to come to us. We have to eventually make a decision to go to where the answer is. So I think when people are having a conversation like that or making statements like that, is it rooted in helping people solve a problem, or is it just rooted in helping people, you know what I'm saying, engage with a loose-ended conversation for social media?
Yeah, and catering to their ego and their feelings.
That's why I said it's manipulative. Anything that's centered
there's
on
no
ego.
real way to distinguish strong beliefs from weak ones.
Man,
and
look,
that's not what this show is about. That's why we advocate promote epistemology, because you really once you take that stand, you leave it in the you leave knowledge into
relativism.
Maybe, yeah. It's
and this is why like all of my work eventually hits a crossroad of not right or wrong, but is it disciplined thinking or undisciplined thinking? If it is unclear, it is not discipline. And if it's disciplined thinking, then it is a choice that you made. Now you have to live and die with the choice you made, right? Good, bad, and different. That's just what it is, you know. And when you make a disciplined decision, it may be the right thing to do, but it might not be popular. But that type of video is just for popularity's sakes. It don't have no definition to it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm listening to it the whole time, and I'm take a stance, you know, and your stance is that you have none.
Yeah.
And you want to relate to people that also have no stance. So you can feel validated. So you're manipulating your audience for a self-gratifying situation. That's all it is. People that are not
undermines, you know, the project of knowledge. But you know, that was a good topic. You know, I want to go ahead and
there's
do
two
a closing
quotes.
statement. I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. You can close the statements.
Yeah, close the statements. Yeah, hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, close. Yeah, I can hear myself. So yeah, I just want to thank. I'll go ahead and start off with the closing statements, and Victor, you go after me. I just want to thank my guy Victor. Man, it's always a pleasure having these dialogues with you, and I want to thank my guy John and everybody that's watching. That is our goal, to really exalt logic and just want to promote critical thinking, and I was excited to do this today. So I want to go with Victor right now.
So I appreciate the opportunity that you extended, and the topics that were brought up, to, you know, actually think through them, talk about them, share some opinions. And ultimately, I want people to take away from me being on here that I'm going to choose discipline every time. Discipline, all things good are centered underneath discipline. There's nothing that you can add discipline to that gets worse.
Okay, cool. Anything you want to promote? I know you got your books, your pages. Let everybody know where they can reach you at.
So go get the book Accountable Masculinity, and it's about identifying the disciplined man in you. It is available on Amazon, and I will drop the link in the description. Well, I'll drop the link in the chat so people can see it. It is a book that's centered on becoming the most disciplined version of yourself in terms of thinking first and foremost, because you cannot perform better than you think. So rule number one is men focus on themselves. Disciplined man do disciplined things. Nobody picks up the phone and calls a useless man. Rule number two, no arguing with women. No arguing in general, but specifically with women. The consequences are too high, and it's an unhealthy competition, especially when you observe the way women try to solve their problems through conflict. And you'll soon realize that you just need to focus on the women that respect you. Rule number three, decentralized leadership, knowing when to lead and when to follow. And you know that you have to know how to sit in a chair so you can know how to speak to others that's sitting in the chair watching you. So you have to give the same respect that you expect. Rule number four, legacy and equity. Everything you do counts, good, bad, and different. So if you're living your life in a in an undisciplined manner 80% of the time, don't be shocked when the other side of your when your outcomes reflect the way that you live. So we need to be excited about doing the right thing. And in order to do the right thing, you have to think the right way. And the most important one, rule number 5, is sexual discipline. Just because you can doesn't mean you should entertain sexual attention from every single person that shows it to you, because the stakes are high. I believe it is witchcraft. And I think it needs to be taken just as seriously. You know, it's a lot. Everything that's a good time is not a good for you. So I want that to be the message that I have. If nobody else hears anything else from me, that's what I stand on.
All right, man. Shout out to Victor. And you know what? I wanted to go over some of those and we can actually have an interesting dialogue for each rule that you have in your book, man. And my guy Vulcan, one of the reasons why we do the show, speaking of discipline, I think he's been very disciplined in this area as far as critical thinking. What's the last words you have for our audience, bro?
I just want to tell everybody out there, thanks for checking out the show. Continue to be open-minded to new ways of thinking about things. There's so many different ideas out there. We're constantly being bombarded with all kind of information because we have so much access to it with social media and the internet in our pockets. And I would just say, continue to be open-minded. But you know that saying says, don't be so open-minded. Don't be so open-minded that your brains fall out. You know, now the mind and the brain are kind of being used loosely there, but I think people get the point is that part of the reason why you don't want your brains to fall out, or one of the ways to keep your brains from falling out, is by learning critical thinking skills. Is very important. I have conversations with people all the time, every day, on all kind of different topics, and people will spend a lot of times going down the rabbit holes and rabbit trails and studying all kind of different things from vaccines to religious topics to the military topics to politics. And I ask people sometimes, I say, look, you know, have you ever studied studying? They're like, huh? Have you ever studied studying? And most people have never studied studying. And that's when they get into epistemology and understanding critical thinking skills and logic. What makes sense? How do you recognize a good argument from a bad argument? People can lace their books and their websites with all kind of information, but if you haven't studied to be able to decipher what's good information versus bad, what's a good argument versus a bad argument, then you're only going to get so far. You're going to memorize all this information, you're going to develop all these conclusions about things, and you're still going to miss the mark. You know, some of you had like a J. Cole quote you used to have. You remember that quote still?
Oh,
or
you
you don't
said
remember
the good news is you came a long way. The bad news is you went the wrong way.
You went the wrong way. And that happens. I see that happen so many times with people because they're not arming themselves with critical thinking skills. So 2 quotes I'll end with is one by Dr. William Lane Craig, where he says, the job of the philosopher is to discover the assumptions and commonly held beliefs. That to me is open-mindedness. Even when you're dialoguing with people and you're researching and learning, question those assumptions that you have. Where are they coming from? Then the other one would be Benjamin Franklin. It's a very popular quote people always say all the time, which is everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But the second part about that is everybody's entitled to their own opinion as long as they can logically back it up. So I'll end it on that.
Yes, we explore the importance of epistemology, make critical thinking great again, man. Thank y'all.
Yes, sir.
All right.
See y'all backstage.
Yes, sir.